All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
That was freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to the Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell. Here inside the Spoken Studios with my guys Trevor Twidwell
What's good?
and Eddie Ortiz.
Yo.
Episode 161 in full swing, full motion. Man, we are so happy to be here with you guys and for you to be here with us because we have another fun-filled episode for you guys. We got a lot of sports to talk about, to tackle, and to get your guys' thoughts as well. We have the open chat as well. We recommend that you guys get it on our YouTube channel, subscribe, and comment on there and let us know what you guys are thinking. I've had actually quite a few people hit me up this week and ask me how we can communicate on the show. I said there's two options that I recommend. You get on our YouTube channel, you subscribe, and then you comment on there, or you guys actually go to our Anchor app that's all of our social media platforms. You can find the link there, and you can leave us a voice recording, and you guys can communicate us with there. You can hit us up on the live chat. More than anything, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know what you guys are thinking, whether you're live streaming, whether you're YouTubing, or whether you're podcasting. I want to thank you guys so much for making some time and being here with us, because even though this is the quote-unquote down year or down time of the year when it comes to most of us that watch football, there's still plenty to talk about. This is the off season, but man, we know the NFL never really has a true off season, and that's actually where I want to start. I'm gonna build off of what I gave you guys last week when it came to starting the show off and choosing optimism, as Trevor likes to call it, a serial optimist. I'm choosing to do that again today, and it's actually a lot easier this week for me because we actually have a great guest coming on today. We have the Eddie Hour. We have also our guy from Chief Concerns coming up, Jason Dunn, former Chief great, the tight end that we love very much and respect big time. I can't wait to get his thoughts on everything in this offseason. I know that's going to make me feel a lot better as well. But there's been some things that have come out this week, in fact, yesterday, that makes me feel even better about the approach and the intention behind what the Chiefs are doing this offseason. I think we all would agree that coming into this offseason, the Chiefs didn't have plans of trading Tyreek Hill. I don't think that was in their plans. I don't think that was something they wanted to do, nor did they foresee doing. But what they did is they were quick on the fly, they kept composure, and they did what they felt was best in that moment. And I know one of the few things we asked ourselves when the trade went down was, man, I wonder what Patrick Mahomes thinks about this. I can't imagine he's happy about this. What is his takeaway? And I had been anticipating that we were going to hear from Patrick in regards to this trade, and that he was going to give a very canned response, something that was very safe, not controversial, and it was going to just be a blow-by where we just kind of get through it and we get to the training camp part, and then we start getting geared up for week one, and then it becomes something that we don't really focus on anymore. But yesterday, one of the best writers out there for Sports Illustrated, Albert Breer, came up with a piece that he actually had a very exclusive one-on-one with Patrick Mahomes just recently. And I read this article twice, and I told Trevor and Eddie yesterday, I was like, guys, I want you to read this. I really hope that you guys can dive into this like I did, because it was a pretty decent read. There was it was very proportional. But it gave me a lot of insight. There wasn't a lot of yammering. It wasn't a lot of fluff. It was a lot of detail and meat that I could really sink my teeth into, because this is probably, I would say without question, the most pivotal offseason in recent Chiefs history. In fact, I would say it's safe to say this is the most pivotal offseason in the Mahomes era, because you're now looking at a team that is slowly and in some regards quickly, rapidly becoming Patrick Mahomes' team officially. We all know he's the guy. Yeah. We all know he's the franchise quarterback. But there's only 4 players currently that predate Patrick Mahomes, and this is stated in this article, which, by the way, I highly recommend you guys read this article. It was just a fascinating piece. Albert Breer did an incredible job of mixing in his own takes, his own opinions, and then leading you into the quotes that Patrick had. We're actually going to break that down in just a second. But there are only 4 players currently that predate Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes has only been on this team for 5 full years. And it's Travis Kelce, it's Chris Jones, it's kicker Harrison Butker, and the long snapper James Winchester. Those are the only 4 players right now that have been a longer tenured Chief than Patrick Mahomes at this current time. And we are now starting to see that develop into becoming Patrick Mahomes' team. And Patrick Mahomes started one of his first quotes in the article, and I've posted it on the Spoken, I've posted it on our Twitter, so you can find it there as well, or you can just look up on SportsIllustrated.com. One of the first quotes he said in regards to the Tyreek Hill situation is, quote, it more surprised me whenever it got to the point when we were really considering trading him, Mahomes said over Zoom on Wednesday, a week after the trade. Quote, they kept me updated the entire time. I knew the extension talks were going on, and then I knew we had got the permission to seek to get traded. He had the permission to seek to get traded. But I mean, still, I played my entire career with Tyreek, so definitely there was a little bit of shock when he got traded. He goes on, at the same time, they kept me involved the entire process, and I know that we made a tremendous effort to try and keep him in Kansas City. Tyreek, he's such a tremendous player. He got what he deserved. I'm happy for him. And he's at a place where he has a home and he's closer to family and stuff. So I'm very happy for him. We had to move forward. And then this is Albert Breer speaking on that. He said, the good news is that through our discussion, Mahomes showed thoroughly he understands the responsibility in that equation, and that now his team, without the ability to throw money at every problem, would probably need him to do more. Here are some takeaways from that talk that I think will illustrate how I landed at that conclusion. And he goes on, and that's when Patrick Mahomes discusses him taking ownership of the team that he now possesses, because it is now, again, quickly becoming his team, where you're going to see a lot more young guys coming in knowing this is Patrick's team. And one thing I wanted to discuss on this particular segment of this article that I love from Patrick Mahomes is this wasn't a canned response by any means. I didn't hear anything in this of, well, it's, the team decided that this was best and I'm just going to follow suit. No, Patrick was very vulnerable in this discussion. He admitted, Tyreek's been here as long as I've been here, and this is a long-term teammate for me.
Career.
Yeah, and you can sense that this is going to be uncomfortable for Patrick to start off the season because he's used to having such greatness at wide receiver. But then you see the maturity in Patrick Mahomes as he discusses this further and further of, they kept me in the loop, which, first of all, I absolutely love the fact that the Chiefs look at them like, but it's funny is that people always say, well, they're not doing anything unless Patrick feels that it's the right thing to do.
They're not going to make a draft pick without his approval. They're not
But what I'm saying is that the Chiefs are telling him, look, Patrick, this is the direction we're going to go. We do want your feedback, but I want to make sure that you understand this is the direction we're going to go. We want you to be on board here. So there's this divine relationship between the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes that I don't think is assumed league-wide. I don't think this is something that you see just all across the board. I don't want to jump too far ahead.
I mean, look at Rodgers.
Yes, exactly. Now, you look at this particular situation. I think if Patrick Mahomes really wanted to make it a fit, he could have. He just said, you guys are not trading Tyreek Hill, and then there could have been a rift between him and the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
And that's definitely not something you want to have.
That veto power.
In a key pivotal offseason like this one is. Because if you create a rift between franchise and franchise player over something like this, you saw the very same thing at a very smaller magnitude, like you just said, Eddie, with Aaron Rodgers. When you saw minor players getting traded away that Aaron Rodgers had a good personal relationship with, you saw Aaron going on the Pat McAfee show and other shows like that and verbalizing his displeasure. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong to feel a certain way. If you don't like a move the team makes, that's fine. But there is a certain unison that I'm getting from Patrick Mahomes, even though he's showing his vulnerability, even though he's showing that that this isn't something he was excited about or even looking towards or even expecting. He knows that there's more to this than what we just naturally heard from the beginning. He's trusting that the Chiefs are putting him in the best situation to succeed. What's it called? Albert Breer, I apologize. Mahomes has a good handle on this involvement with Reed and Veach. Like we said earlier, the coach and GM kept their quarterback updated through the Hill transaction, and I was interested to hear that actually not new, especially during a period when the involvement of quarterback in such matters has become a hot-button topic, as I just addressed. I've been involved, this is Patrick Mahomes, I've been involved pretty much my entire career as a starter, said Mahomes. I mean, I remember when we signed Sammy Watkins. I'm not saying who we need to sign and who we don't need to sign and all the different type of stuff, But they let me know what they're thinking and why they're thinking it, and I think that's why my relationship that's why the relationship I have in Kansas City is so great with Coach Reed and Veach and everybody. It's they keep everybody informed of where we're going and what the vision of the future. And that's the reason why I signed the contract that I did, and that's the reason why I know I'm going to be in Kansas City for my entire career, because I have great people around me. I've kind of kept myself out of making decisions or anything like that. I don't even know if they'd let me make decisions like that. I'll give my input on what I think about the guys they ask me about, but other than that, they just kind of keep me involved in what they're trying to do. See, I'm somebody that loves player mobility and player opinion. I love that players can have a say on how they, like Tom Brady. We can talk about what happened just recently with Bruce Arians and how we all know deep down that Tom Brady had everything to do with Bruce Arians stepping down and Todd Bowles moving in as the head coach. We know that Tom Brady had something to say with that. And we know that Patrick Mahomes has something to say. We know the stories of Clyde Edwards-Helaire being drafted here. We know that Patrick Mahomes said, I want Clyde. The Chiefs considered it. They said, hey, we're thinking about Clyde. Cool. We have Patrick's on board. We're going to take this running back. What I love about this entire statement, though, again, to kind of reflect on what I've already stated on this, is the fact that Patrick Mahomes is trusting this team, and the team is simultaneously trusting Patrick Mahomes in a way of they both know they're going to get the job done. See, this contract to me is an historic contract, not just because of the total, but because of the fact that this is one of those few contracts that I think in pro sports that have taken place where both sides got exactly what they wanted. You don't see that. Most times in business especially, one side gets everything they wanted, the other side just has to agree to it. They're just like, well, okay, it makes sense. I'm not excited about it, but it makes sense. They got what they wanted. I'm not mad. In this certain particular instance, both sides knew exactly what they were getting, and it was exactly what both sides wanted. For the Chiefs, it's simple. You're getting an historic, transcendent quarterback that's going to change the infrastructure of everything you do for the foreseeable future. For Patrick Mahomes, he's got a franchise, as he said multiple times in these quotes, they keep me informed. They make me feel important. Like, my opinion matters, but they're also going to let me know that this is what they think is best, and I'm going to trust them because since I took over, they have set me up for success. Have the Chiefs had problems? Yes. In 2018, Bob Sutton shouldn't have been their defensive coordinator. Their defense was atrocious, and it cost them a championship, in my opinion. I think they would have beaten the Rams in that Super Bowl, or at least it would have been a great game again, like it was in Monday Night Football in Week 10 that year. But in 2019, you saw what Brett Veach did. He made sure, under no circumstances, we're going to have the same problem again. And they didn't. Their defense went up 17 spots, ironically, like when they moved up 17 spots to get Patrick Mahomes just a couple years before that. And they go and win a Super Bowl. And since then, there has been a foundation that has been set between Patrick Mahomes and between this franchise that I think is about as, I would say is about as unique as of a relationship as we have ever seen. And the best part about all this, and again, I don't want to give the whole article away, and I want to get your guys' thoughts, but the part of this article that excited me the most, and I told Eddie this yesterday when we were talking, I said, the best part of this is the fact that Patrick Mahomes is the type of guy that not only trusts the team that he's with and gave his entire career essentially to, at least till he's 36 years old, yep. But he's somebody that is going to be tirelessly working to get better himself so he can give them back what they are giving him. We had Pat Mahomes Sr. on the show about a month ago, and he said this same thing about how it drives Patrick more when he loses than when he wins. Yep. Those stick to him more. Those he feels those more than the feelings of
traits of the greats, right there.
Traits of the greats, exactly. Well said. And that is something that I know is going to drive Patrick Mahomes. And I think this last year and how it ended, knowing they didn't get back to the Super Bowl and lost a game in such a horrific fashion, is going to drive Patrick Mahomes. And this is going into the thread. He said, I'm interested in the vision of what we're doing, especially our team. I like to see other stuff from other teams, see kind of how they're going together, but at the same time, I want to see the 2 or 3 year plan that we have, how we're going to be successful every single year to have chances to compete for Super Bowls. And then he goes down to where he talks about how the season ended last year, the struggles they had early on in the year, and how they got back to championship form. Quote, it 100% made me better. The quicker decision making, getting the ball out of my hands, just going instead of going for the home runs every single time, I think it helped me involve me more in the offense too. Being able to get the ball out to everybody, the running backs out of the backfield, all the different tight ends that we have, and then obviously still involve our main guys with Travis and Tyreek last season. It helped me become a better quarterback. One thing that should help, though, is the experience Mahomes referenced. Although from 1 year to last year, he said early in the season the Chiefs' offense struggled and the defense carried the team as opponents started to play to safety deep consistently, daring Mahomes to go on 12 to 14 play drives rather than even giving him an inch to make the kind of explosive play the Chiefs feasted on through consecutive Super Bowl runs. Eventually, Kansas City adjusted and got back to championship round. In doing so, Mahomes' hopes, he and his offense are better equipped to manage the loss of Hill. So not only are the Chiefs having to adjust on the fly as far as what the teams are throwing at him, but now he's adjusting to losing a significant star player. Mm-hmm. And so for me, to hear Patrick Mahomes say it made him a better player to go through the struggle, knowing it's the only struggle he really ever has had in his 4 or 5 years as an NFL quarterback, to know that small little window of what we call a slump can make him see things the way he's now seeing it, to where he's like, I have to change my game. I have to get better. I have to do things that might be a little more boring to me, that make me anxious, and I just want to take the deep ball. These are the kind of things that are, like you said, Trevor, the traits of the greats. Because a lot of guys, as talented as Patrick is, especially on really good teams, they tend to get comfortable. They tend to look at their situation and say, I mean, it's worked, so why wouldn't it work again? I'm just going to force my way because this is what I'm comfortable with. Yeah. But everything about this offseason, from Clark Hunt to the common fan, has been uncomfortable. Has this offseason felt great to you guys? Yes, they've made certain acquisitions, but losing like they did in the AFC Championship, to see another team represent the AFC in the Super Bowl for the first time in 3 years, to see the loss of Tyreek Hill, it's been uncomfortable. It's made us rethink everything. But with uncomfortability comes progress. Trevor, you take care of your body. You work out constantly, right? You know the greatest way of getting cut and getting definition is resistance. Everything is resistance. Mm-hmm. This is the resistance off season. This is the time where the Chiefs have to tweak everything. We talked about how the running back era is dead. It's officially dead. And it's an era that I thought was going to go a little longer than it actually did. I thought Tyreek Hill was going to be here for at least another 3 to 5 years. We talked about this, about how he was a long-term solution. I
think the Chiefs did too, yeah.
The Chiefs did too. I think Tyreek even did it sometimes too, but then he saw the money. Yeah. He saw the availability in Miami. He saw an opportunity. Yeah, and he deuced out. Yeah. And now we're looking at this offseason of the unknowns. Because since 2018,
it's exciting.
Yes, since 2018, we've not had a lot of unknowns in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Well, now the unknowns are officially here. We are now in a place where the Chiefs have to reconvene, reconfigure everything. And it's a beautiful thing because, as we saw throughout the years of the Patriots dynasty, the one we look up to the most, how many players, how much turnover was going on. But there was one consistent piece on the field, the quarterback. And once the quarterback had his team in place, and you saw the struggles for the Patriots, early on, immediate success. Tom Brady was this young rookie player. Then it became his team. There was a little bit of a struggle, and then it became his team again, and they started to have another dynasty. I don't think there's going to be this long wind of time where Patrick Mahomes is going to go 9 years in between Super Bowls. Yeah. I don't believe that because I've always told you guys, I think he's just the better quarterback between him and Tom Brady.
He's more dynamic.
He's not as reliant on the pieces around him as Tom Brady was. But at the same time, we have to look at this and say, this was the beginning of the uncomfortability. This was the beginning of it being from Patrick Mahomes is this great quarterback on a great team to now it's Patrick Mahomes' team and he's still a great quarterback and he's getting better. I'm excited about this. I'm choosing optimism, like I said. I'm a serial optimist now, or at least I'm trying to be more.
It's contagious.
And yes, it's definitely jumped over to this side of the table. Yeah. And after reading this article, after hearing what Albert Breer had to say, after hearing what Patrick said, and realizing there was real authenticity in these words, I really do believe that this overall could be an absolute blessing in disguise as an offseason as a whole to get this team back to where they want to be, because uncomfortability gets you to challenge yourself. And if you're a team that, Trevor, like you said, has traits of the greats, you're going to be able to utilize this as motivation, not as something to fear, but rather get on and get beyond. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this article as well.
Yeah, I mean, I relate it to just life in general. Us as individuals, we go through life and we go through different phases of our life. So Patrick Mahomes had the Tyreek Hill phase. That's what they were teammates from the beginning of his days, and now we had a handful of years together with that, and it was great. It was entertaining. It was fireworks. We got a ring out of it. We had the best moment of my life as a sports fan. Was created because of that duo. So it was an enjoyable process, and I'm looking forward to this next phase of the Patrick Mahomes career. Who he's going to develop into as this next guy with these, with a new set of receivers, new set of skill players that might bring something different. That we might have a different approach offensively and do things a little different, maybe a little bit more balanced and less reliant on one guy to carry so much of the load offensively as far as weapons go. So I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm nervous about this moving forward. Having that vacancy of a playmaker that is maybe arguably the most deadliest guy with the ball in his hands in football. Losing that is tough, man, for a young, growing quarterback still in this league that depended on the home run plays rather than understanding how to be a game manager. Mahomes' way his career started is so much different than most quarterbacks coming into this league. He came in with the big playability right off the bat, similar to like a Brett Favre. And he struggled learning how to manage games, taking the safe plays and things like that. So this is going to be a whole new dynamic and phase. We saw it last year. Mahomes had to learn that in season, how to kind of rein it in, not have to depend on the big plays and find the guys downfield when the play breaks down. Just check it down to the 5-yard mark, just try to get to the sticks and live to play another down. So that development, that evolution of Patrick Mahomes, I'm excited for. Because that's knowledge, right? Because him having the innate ability to make big plays after big plays, we all know that's the obvious. That's the obvious of who Patrick Mahomes is. That's why he was brought in here, because Alex Smith wasn't that guy. He didn't have that capability. But he has to learn some of those Alex Smithian type traits, and I fully expect him to. We saw last year he was getting there, but we fell flat because of his lack of ability to really do that though on an elite level. So I'm excited, man. This is going to be strange. Like I've said since this trade happened, it's going to be really, really, really uncomfortable and weird not seeing 10 on the field every Sunday. That's going to be a sad moment, honestly. For the first few weeks of the year, it's going to take me some time to get over not seeing 10 out there because I'm just so used to that. That's been Mahomes football and Chiefs football for the last handful of years, and that's what got us to the promised land. So seeing that is going to be a sad realization once it actually really hits and we see that as our reality. But I have my full trust, no matter what anyone says, no matter what the stories are, no matter what moves we made so far and what moves are to be made. I have full trust in Brett Veach. I have full trust in Coach Reed because they are the ones that got me there. They're the ones that got us here. They're the ones that brought Patrick Mahomes here. They're the ones that have gotten us to the promised land and got us that ring. So I am forever grateful, forever indebted to these guys, and I have full trust in them moving forward. But, yeah, man, I'm excited more than anything. I'm definitely excited to see Juju Smith-Schuster shine in this offense, and McColl maybe take that next step, whatever his future holds, whether it's here or not. Whatever MVS becomes in this offense, I'm excited to see that. Maybe Clyde taking the next step, having Rojo in the backfield might be a really, really great duo back there again, having that kind of running back, that Kareem Hunt-esque running back that we've been kind of begging for. That's been missed. Darrell Williams was good, but he still wasn't that. Darrell Williams was a guy that was kind of becoming something. He was still more of a receiving back when he was being used. So having that banger back there, this offense is going to be fun. And I appreciate the candid, straightforward on the nose conversation with Albert Breer and Patrick Mahomes. That was something I think the Chiefs fans needed because we didn't hear much from Patrick Mahomes at all. And I think he was probably saving that to have a good conversation instead of tweets and a tweet chain about it. That was more of a thorough conversation. And he was honest about it, man. There's probably some bubble guts going on there too with Patrick Mahomes with the unknowns of what this offense is really, really going to look like till we start moving guys around and getting practices going and training camp and so on. So he's probably nervous too, not having that dependent safety blanket of a player that can, take it from 0 to 60 and, take a 60-yarder to the house. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure all these guys are excited. I'm sure Coach Reed is excited to, kind of wet his whistle a little bit again. Maybe, change around some X's and O's now they don't have that centerpiece. Sometimes moves like this are the thing that launches you into that next evolution of the offense to maybe more even more efficient. maybe not better, more dynamic, because it's hard to say this offense could be as dynamic as it was without Tyreek Hill, but efficiency and just overall offensive prowess could be better possibly with the unknowns. So I'm excited. That's my approach to this right now. I am a little nervous just with the vacancy there, but I'm overwhelmingly excited to see how we combat the movement of this division, how Patrick Mahomes grows and adjusts and adapts to his new environment. So yeah, that's where I'm at, man. I'm just extremely excited to see what he does.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm not nervous for the vacancy that Hill left. That's not what makes me nervous. What makes me nervous is our defense, but that's another topic.
Yeah.
But with the vacancy that Hill left, yeah, it hurts. Definitely seeing one of the fan favorites, one of the
all-time fan favorites.
One of those players that's dynamic that can change a game. It's crucial. It sucks. It really does suck to see, but with our head coach, with who our quarterback is, with who we have with the Chiefs, it makes it a little bit more, I guess, less painful in a way. It's more exciting because now you get to see what Patrick Mahomes can do without that big weapon, without that excuse that everybody had for Patrick Mahomes. I'm just so excited to see what Patrick Mahomes can do with these wide receivers that we got, with Juju, with MVS. Can Miko come step up finally and be that receiver we wanted him to be since day one? It's a contract year for Miko Harmon, so he has to step up regardless. So seeing those players playing to their top potential and then seeing Patrick Mahomes obviously being the quarterback he is, I'm so excited to see this offense just explode and catch everybody off guard, because now they're gonna have the defense gonna have to play different. They can't just throw two safeties in the back anymore. Now they're gonna have to play Patrick Mahomes different because their style is gonna completely change from last year. So I hope everybody's ready for that. It's a completely new system for this offense. Be ready to see a lot more Alex Smith type of plays, but again, we have those players that are capable of making those plays even bigger than what they are.
Yes.
Yes. So be excited for that. I know Alex Smith era was a little bit boring, was a little bit, sad. We wanted a better quarterback, whatever. But with the players we have now and with the quarterback we have now, expect big plays with Alex Smith kind of playbook. So I'm excited for that. I can't wait for that.
I want to piggyback off what you guys both said. I want to move on to another topic before we get to the Eddie Hour. Real quick, I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, Trevor, this won't be a more dynamic. The dynamic part of the offense essentially did leave with Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. He was the most dynamic weapon on the team. There's no question about that. And him and Patrick Mahomes' ability to make dynamic plays.
As far as how we score.
Yeah. So I agree with everything you just said. That's 100% true. So the finding themselves again is the focus here, the factor here when it comes to how this offense moves on from that, because they can't recreate what they once had. That's without question. So I agree with you, and I think that's a certainty. For one thing we know for sure about this offense moving forward is they did lose a lot of dynamic. But that doesn't mean they can't still be great, like you said. They can just be great in their own way. And to piggyback off to what Eddie said, because I think you guys segued perfect off each other on that, is I actually agree. I think that it's going to be a lot more of the Alex Smith style of offense. But why people were so upset with the Alex Smith offense is because when you needed big plays, he wasn't able to give them to you.
We could be more reserved with the potential of huge plays here and there.
And then all of a sudden Patrick can hit you for the 55-yard touchdown. Or run. Because even though Alex Smith was very athletic, he could run. Mm-hmm. His decision-making wasn't as great as Pat. You see, Patrick immediately knows when he has to run. And you see him put his head down and just run. He checks his back. He does a little back check thing, and he just shimmies down the field and get the little arms.
Him and Aaron Rodgers are the greatest ever.
Exactly. They just know when to run. Alex Smith could get out there and get it.
Yeah.
But you would see him delay.
He puts his head down and just runs
and you would see, so the decision-making, although, I do think you're going to see more of a conservative style of offense this year. I think it's also a great thing for Patrick because getting the ball out and letting your weapons create in space is actually a better, more fluid offense to begin with, as opposed to relying on your arm all the time and pinpointing those 40-yard throws.
And I do think we run the ball. I'm not going to say we're going to be a running offense. We're definitely not. Never is Andy Reid's offense ever. It's West Coast, so don't expect that. But I do expect with the efforts to go get Rojo and bring him in here, make that a thing. With that, like I said, with that Kareem Hunt type running back, I think we will see some more running though. I think if we get a lead, we won't be throwing as much as we used to. Right. I think we'll definitely start handling the ball.
And I think it'll be a lot more running in the early downs.
Gain that rhythm.
Gain that rhythm.
Yeah.
Because
I'm with
Clyde,
that. Yeah,
Clyde and Roger can catch the ball. They're
Absolutely.
deadly with catching the ball. So this is exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah. For
Yeah,
sure.
Yes, like I said, losing Tyreek Hill is a big loss. But at the same time, you gain so much from many different weapons. It might not be the same. You're not gonna, like you said, you're not gonna have the dynamic play. But having all these players creating something special every down. I'm excited.
Well, I think about it too. I mean, I know this isn't something that just happens every single time, but like when the Vikings traded away Stephon Diggs, Stephon Diggs, one of the best route runners, one of the best receivers in football, and everyone's like, oh my god, they're just choosing to tank now. They got a second round pick for him. Shit, that second round pick turned into Justin Jefferson, who's better than Stephon Diggs. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that's going to happen. No. But with all the picks that we got, I mean, something very much similar can happen.
Something will happen.
We can take two guys and one of them works out.
Either we're drafting or we're trading. But Chiefs are not. I do believe that Chiefs are not done at wide receiver. I think we have one more.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, this actually proves it to be true. So we talk about Kareem Hunt, and you saw how in 2017, before Patrick Mahomes took over, he led the league in rushing. In that season, he was averaging 17 rushes per game and 3 receptions per game. So that's 20 touches a game for your running back. That's a great amount in an Andy Reid offense. Mm-hmm. The next season, when Patrick Mahomes took over, his rush attempts per game went down 1. He went to 16 from 17, and then had the same amount of receptions per game. Actually, he's right under 3, so it was like 2.9. So right under 3 receptions per game. So Kareem Hunt's production didn't drop off, and he also had just as many, if not more, touches per game. So I agree with the Ronald Jones acquisition. I think that's actually, because I don't want to sit here and say that Ronald Jones is going to become Kareem Hunt. I don't believe that. I think Kareem Hunt was perfect for this offense.
I think he has a chance to thrive.
I think 100% agree. I think Ronald Jones in this offense with Patrick Mahomes is going to give Patrick Mahomes what he needs with the transition. Yes, because back then Kareem Hunt had a really good offensive line too. I think this offensive line is going to be better.
Yeah,
I think this is the best offensive line the Chiefs have had in about 20 years. I really
especially at run blocking. We've been the film on the run blocking is so good, man.
So you're right. It'll never be a 25 to 30 rush attempts per game. We know that Andy Reid doesn't run that style of offense. Yeah. And when you have a $500 million quarterback, you're going to throw the ball. Yeah. Especially when you have a quarterback that can throw the ball like Patrick Mahomes can. My point, though, is that I think that the balanced attack is going to be prolongs the success of this team. Not this offense, the team. Because, Eddie, you're 100% right, man. What concerns me is the same thing. This defense still has a lot of holes to fill, primarily at the most important position, which is getting to the quarterback. I'm very concerned about that. But like Patrick just said himself, he's very excited about the direction this team is going because even though you lose a primary weapon, he knows that the Chiefs have enough to not only retool, but the continuity and the upstairs ability to get it done. Because we literally saw this team, and I have to credit Brett Veach because I criticize him whenever I get an opportunity to. I'm going to praise him every time I get an opportunity to. Yeah. He literally took an entire new offensive line from one offseason to the next and made it that much better. You went from 2020's horrific offensive line to 2021 being a top 5 offensive line with two rookies and essentially a third with Lucas Niang that didn't start any games in his career to that point. So, and the 2 veterans you had were guys that weren't here the year before. So it was essentially all 5 new guys, and it was absolutely bonkers how great it went. I'm giving Brett Veach the same credit because I believe he can do that on the defensive side this time as well. And Patrick Mahomes clearly does too. And Patrick Mahomes being able to, again, facilitate by giving them essentially his entire career tells you just how much faith he has. Because there are bigger markets out there. There are teams out there that are historically greater than the Chiefs are that Patrick Mahomes could have just said, you know what, I'm going to play my rookie deal out. and then we'll see where we go.
Yeah.
No, he waited till it wasn't even as soon as he was eligible to get a new contract. The man signed a $500 million contract in Kansas City because he understood what they're doing here. He understood they're not going to waste his seasons. Will they fail at times? Yes, they just did. They did in 2018. 2020, I don't think it's a failure. You just had injuries.
Well, it's not going to be the last time either. So.
And like when Pat Senior was on, he was talking about how he was sold on Kansas City pre-draft,
right,
from his visits here. So he knew he wanted to be here before. So I think that was already in his head.
Yeah, Patrick was saying, I want to go to Kansas City.
Yeah.
So this was a relationship built long before he even became the guy. Now that he's becoming the guy officially, where this is really his team, not a team he inherited, it's going to be even greater, guys. I know that he inherited greatness, but there's no reason in the world why we can't sit here and say that he's going to lead more greatness, where it's going to be his team that he's leading into further greatness, because I know that it looked like this was going to be the best it could ever be. I don't buy into that. Because as you saw, guys like Tom Brady and even Peyton Manning, who left his original team to go to another, his greatest season was later in his career. Mm-hmm. His best teams were later in his career. Who's to say that doesn't happen again? Yeah. Who's to say that the greatest Chiefs team we ever seen isn't in 2025 or 2026? That's what's exciting me, is that Patrick Mahomes has opened his eyes and his mind enough to say, that's what I'm gearing towards. I want to be winning Super Bowls in my mid to late 30s. This is why I asked Pat Sr., how long do you think Patrick plays? Well, he's got things he wants to accomplish that might take him into his 40s. Bring it on. I want that. Yeah, I want to see this dude playing in his 40s here in Kansas City. Because if he's doing that, then that means the Chiefs did something right. Because if they were failing year in and year out, I can't imagine the dude's going to try to keep. I'm not trying to question his ability to withstand criticism or withstand failure. But I would have a hard time believing that after this big mega contract that he's gotten, if the Chiefs aren't getting to the playoffs, so they're not winning playoff games, that he's not going to say, you know what, I want to better my career, I'm going somewhere else. And I wouldn't blame him. I don't think that that's the case here, guys, because this team once again realized our history is now moving forward. We don't have a lot of history backwards. You look back, it was the late 60s, early 70s, a little bit of the 90s. We didn't really do shit. We had really good defenses. Mm-hmm. Now we are building history. History is now. So the team doesn't want to fuck that up. And I think that's what they're doing. I think they're realizing that they got to make some harsh business decisions. And as ironically as it is, I thought to myself, I said the first show of the offseason that the Chiefs are going to have to make a lot of unpopular decisions. I didn't realize how unpopular those decisions were going to be. Yeah. Not even giving Tyrann Mathieu a contract offer.
Unpopular amongst players and fans.
Trading Tyreek Hill in the middle of his prime. Yeah. You want to talk about unpopular? I'm all for it, but as I've said on the show since, you got to get them right. You got to go nail these draft picks. You got to trade for the right guys. I think that's what the Chiefs are going to do. And speaking of trades, we're going to have our guy Jason Dunn in here just a little bit. There's been a lot of reports this week that the Chiefs want to or are aggressively looking around the league and seeing who is available as far as trade acquisitions at the wide receiver position. Yep. So I immediately went to it. I hit you guys up and said, hey, give me your 5, man. I just want to hear who you guys think the Chiefs should go and get. I put out my 5. If you guys have your 5, definitely give me what you got. I'm just going to tell you guys right now that I think that Trevor and I were talking before the show. I think there's a list of guys out there that make a ton of sense for the Chiefs, not just from an ideal standpoint where it's like, oh, well, of course that guy would be great with any team. I'm talking about just a good fit in Kansas City right immediately, day one. Now, the most realistic name we've heard is Laviska Shenault out of Jacksonville. I know we keep going to Jacksonville because they got a lot of young talent over there, and they've been spending a lot of money, which means they're going to try to start, trimming some fat a little bit financially. Now, Laviska has had back-to-back 600-yard seasons. He didn't have a touchdown last year, but this guy is a big picture longevity down the road type of pick for the Chiefs, I think, when it comes to trading for him. It wouldn't take a lot. According to the Jaguars beat writers, they're saying that it would require maybe a 4th-round pick. I like him and I don't like him at the same time for this team. Reason why I like him is because he's a big physical receiver who stays primarily healthy and can be a really good acquisition. I think he could be what people wanting Josh Gordon to be for this team. I think he could actually be that. A good possessions receiver. The only pushback on that is I feel like the Chiefs just got that guy Juju, a big physical receiver that can go and get you those 5 to 10 yards that you need to get. Mm-hmm. So that might be a cancel out. You may not be able to make a yin and yang out of Juju and Laviska Shenault.
And the youth is there.
The youth is there. He's 23 years old. Yeah. So, and again, physical, stays healthy, young, cheap. I like all those things. The only pushback again is I don't know if he really elevates the offense because again we already have a wide receiver with his talent and his abilities, and also the fact that we've heard the comparisons. They said that at best he's a Cordarrelle Patterson, a good player.
Yeah, he's versatile
player, but he's not a guy that you want to go out there and trade a bunch on. So if they can get him for a fourth-round pick, I'm on board with it.
And he would be expensive to extend once he reaches that point. So.
Yeah, so I like Laviska, but I actually didn't have him in my 5.
Yeah.
The guys that I have on here are guys that might take a lot to get and actually you'd have to pay. And it's because of the fact you want to get a wide receiver 1. And I don't know if Laviska would ever be a wide receiver 1.
An elite talent.
You want to go get a veteran guy that day one just elevates your offense. So my 5th guy is the guy that everyone keeps talking about is DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf would automatically elevate this team. He would be the wide receiver 1 day 1, and he would make this offense probably the scariest offense in all of football outside of maybe the Rams.
Bro, you ain't lying, man.
So, the only problem with DK, and I want to get yours, I'm going to go 5, and then I want to hear you guys' thoughts on my 5, okay? And then if you have them, you can add to them. But DK, the problem with him, it's going to cost you a first-round pick, maybe a couple early-round picks, because the Seahawks are still trying to reallocate from that horrific Jamal Adams trade they gave up 3 first-round picks for.
Yeah.
They only got 2 out of Russell Wilson, so they're trying to get a 3rd and a 4th. So DK is going to cost the Chiefs an expensive amount of draft picks, which we are all priding ourselves off the 12 that they got. And then you're going to have to extend him this year. So you're talking about giving him $85 to $100 million. You're going to have to pay him $24, $25 million a year. Are you really willing to pay the 12th to 15th best wide receiver in the league, $25 million a year?
He's going to want at least 25.
He's going to want at least 25, and he's not even a top 10 receiver in this league. He's really good.
He's really good at what he does.
But he's not elite.
But he doesn't have a lot different skill sets, yeah.
So I want to get your thoughts on DK in this offense and if you think that would be the right idea.
Oh, man, I would imagine him at MVS on the opposite sides of the field lining up going 5 wide, and you got those 2 monsters. That would be insane. He elevates any team he goes to just because of his dominance and what he is. I mean, he's maybe the freakiest receiver I've ever seen. Like the guy, looks like he plays power forward in the NBA, and he's out there running routes and 9 routes faster than damn near anybody. You know, that play alone. That sold me was when he chased that guy down after that interception. That was one of the most insane things I've ever seen an offensive player do.
25 yards back.
And that's something I could see Tyreek doing as far as catching up to the guy, but catching him and then tackling him was insane. So, the guy's speed, his size would elevate any offense he goes to just because he's just that much of a dominating force. That's like prime Shaq out there catching, football. So, I would love to have DK here, but I just do not think he's worth the money that he's going to be demanding, especially for a 1-year deal. Trading a first-round pick makes no sense for me to get a 1-year rental for DK Metcalf. If I'm going to get a guy that's an elite talent, I want to keep him here for years. And if we weren't going to pay Tyreek north of $26 million, $27 million a year, I'm not paying anyone else that, because if anyone else I'd want to keep here, it would have been Tyreek. So if we're going to pay someone that much money, it's definitely not going to be DK Metcalf, who is a discount version of what Tyreek Hill can bring to this offense. So I would love to have him here. If he wants to take less money and we don't have to trade a first-round pick just for a 1-year rental, I'm cool with that. We can figure out something. If Veach can work some kind of magic, cool with that, man. If we can keep him here for a handful of years, paying him right around $20 million a year, that would be my limit. I know the price is going up for receivers. That's becoming the gold standard around the NFL. Is you build your teams now around elite receivers, which I get. It's an offensive game now for the most part. But I love DK, but it depends on the price for me, man. The impact is there for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I would love DK. I think that's my one of my favorite options to even come to Kansas City. I think the Chiefs should definitely consider. I know they called the Seahawks and asked about DK Metcalf. I think it would be a perfect fit here. Not only he would fill some of what Tyreek Hill has left in this offense. But I think he can do such a great job with Patrick Mahomes because he's a big guy. He's a tall guy. So Patrick Mahomes in the end zone can kind of throw the ball a little bit high for him to go and grab and bring it down. Dude, that'll be amazing to have. Yes, the price is what concerns me a little bit, but at the same time, we do have the cap space going up next year. Was it like $20-30 more million or something like that? And then 2024 is going to go up another $20-30 million. So I'm not too concerned about that. He is going to be in the probably mid-20s, but he is a wide receiver that's earned that money. Obviously, I'm not going to pay him Tyreek Hill kind of money. That's just way too much. And if the Chiefs didn't want to pay Tyreek Hill, obviously nobody else deserves to get paid that kind of money here Kansas City. But yes, I would definitely love DK Metcalf in this offense.
Well, and then ironically, the next guy on my list was a teammate of his, Tyler Lockett. And Tyler Lockett, see, he's a guy that I think would be a great fit. Yeah. The only pushbacks I have, this is a guy that is a walking 1,100 yards, 9 to 10 touchdowns every single season. Dude stays healthy. He gets open. He's incredible. He's been
kind of banged up recently, though.
Recently, yes. Yeah. But I'm saying the duration of his career, he's been able to stay pretty healthy.
He's a dynamic player.
Him and Russell Wilson were a perfect duo.
Touchdown
Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson have similar skill sets where they're able to chuck the ball deep and get their guys open. Tyler Lockett is a not as good as Tyreek Hill, but has similar skill sets, and they're about the same build. I think he's actually a little bit taller than Tyreek is. He'll be 30 this season. For the next 2 years, I mean, he's under contract control until 2025, when he'll be 33 years old. The next 2 seasons, he's only owed $28 million.
Yeah.
So you're paying him essentially $14 million a year. That's a bargain for wide receiver one, a guy that's going to get you 12 to 1,300 yards.
K-State guy, too, I believe, yeah.
He has connections back here. And everybody loved Byron Pringle. Well, enter Tyler Lockett, the better version of Byron Pringle.
That, yeah.
I would actually prefer him because of the fact, like I said, I think he's a better fit for the offense. I know DK's a freak athlete.
He's got more to his game, too.
He's got more to his game. He's a better route runner. He's got incredible hands. He's an absolute burner. Like I said, highlight reel player. I would like Tyler Lockett a lot because after the second season, after 2023, you can actually get out of his contract with only $14 million in dead cap.
He's really good in the red zone too.
So if he gets older, if you see him start to progressively get older, you can get out of the contract after 2023. What are your guys' thoughts on Tyler Lockett?
Oh man, I've always been a big fan of Tyler. Especially anybody who's fantasy knows Tyler. At any time, Tyler Lockett can have one of those weeks where he has 3 or 4 touchdowns in a single game.
Yeah.
The guy is so deadly with the deep ball, and he's very, very good. Like I said, he's very, very good in the red zone, finding those sweet spots at the back of the end zone or sneaking under people and breaking open. That's the kind of plays that Mahomes thrives in. Is extending the play and having that connection with a guy that Kelsey and Tyreek have with him, that connection where they can find that sweet spot when the play breaks down. They know where to go. That's Tyler Lockett. So he would absolutely be the much better fit in my mind than a DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf's just so dependent on his overwhelmingly athletic ability. He's not nearly as gifted in my mind as a receiver, as a full route runner and capabilities of being versatile within the game. He has that potential. He could be that, but Tyler Lockett is that. So I think his fit for sure is far more suited for this kind of offense. A guy that's better with the ball in his hands, a guy that's more knowledgeable of the game at this point of their careers and knows how to run the proper routes when when to break on his route at time, creating separation. He's a consummate pro. So I love. He's honestly been the better receiver, even with the big year that DK had. That his first big year, Tyler Lockett's still been the more consistent, better receiver over there. He is the better receiver over there. So. I love it, but he has been having some nagging injuries as of late in the last couple seasons. You don't like that as an aging receiver. Not that he's old, but he is aging. He's getting up there in the latter part of his career, the middle part of his career, I should say. But I do I love Tyler Lockett. I like him. He's a K-State guy, a local kid. Played really well out this way. And it would be an easy transition for him to this offense. He might have the best years of his career in this offense because I think Patrick Mahomes would just unlock that much more that Russell Wilson couldn't. He would be. Yeah, he would
lock it a lot. I lock it a lot.
Yeah, he may be a Locket, but he would be a key contributor to this offense.
Fan him off. Fan him off.
Yeah, I would definitely. He would definitely come in here and produce. Why do I think that? Because I think Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson have almost the same style of arm. They have that power. They have that accuracy.
Different platforms.
Yep. So I think him. Tyler Lockett coming into this office will be a straight click with Patrick Mahomes because, like I said, thinking about it, Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes almost have the same accuracy in their arm. So Patrick Mahomes is going to find ways to give him the ball. He's always finding himself open. Him and Russell Wilson clicks since day one. So why should I expect anything different from that? He would bring that dynamic that the Chiefs desperately need. I wouldn't say desperately, but that they need in that offense if they want to make their wide receiver core, like a top one. So.
Yeah. Well, and then the next guy on my list is a guy I'm very big on, and I would love to see the Chiefs go and grab him, is Brandon Cooks. Okay, Brandon Cooks makes so much sense for the Chiefs, and in fact, if they can get him, I really hope they do. And here's the reason why. Contractually, it's beautiful for the Chiefs. He's not even 29 years old yet. Okay, he's 28 years old right now. He has 2 years left on his deal, and he's going to cost the Chiefs less than $22 million over the next 2 years if they were to trade for him right now. Okay, so you can get out of the contract at 30 years old. And if you want to extend him, fine, but the Chiefs don't extend guys that are past 28 years old. We've seen that with Tyrann Mathieu and other guys. Tyreek Hill. They didn't extend him, exactly. They were going to, but you know what I mean. Yeah. And here's the other thing about Brandon Cooks. This guy has been insanely productive in his career.
Consistent as hell, no matter what the quarterback is.
He did have Drew Brees early on in his career, so of course you're going to get your number. But he was available almost every single week. Okay, since 2015, he was a rookie in 2014, but since 2015, the man has missed 4 games.
Yep.
4 games since 2015. Okay? Not only that, every year since 2015, except in 2019, he's had at least 1,000 yards and at least 5 touchdowns in that season. Okay? The only reason he didn't have it in 2019, he did miss 2 games that year, and Jared Goff was his quarterback. That should tell you everything you need to know. But when he's had a quarterback that can get him the ball, this man has been a top 15 wide receiver in this league, and I think that he would have his career years in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes at the stead, with Juju Smith-Schuster and Travis Kelce taking the butt of everything in the middle, Brandon Cooks being able to get those 15-yard receptions. He's Tyreek Hill light. I know we hear that about a lot of different guys.
Deshaun Jackson light.
Yes. Yep. He's a guy that can go downfield, get you those 15 to 30-yard passes. He would be so electric in this offense. He wouldn't be Tyreek Hill, so I'm not going to put those types of expectations on him.
His numbers are similar to Tyreek Hill.
His numbers are, exactly.
He's very dynamic.
And I would love him. He's not expensive. He's a great veteran who plays all the time.
He's cheap at this point in his career.
Yes, and if you want to talk about getting Patrick Mahomes a replacement for Tyreek Hill, ideally, Brandon Cooks has got to be at the top of the list.
I have somebody else, but yeah.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Well, I mean,
your thoughts on Brandon Cooks?
Yeah. So, we'll get to my top guy, who I think is would be the best opportunity if it's possible. If not, I get it. But Brandon Cooks is right up there for me. He's number 5 on my list, but I could easily put him in the top 2, top 3 easily. All these guys, these names are scrambled. You can scramble them up. I like all these guys. But he's even better than Tyler Lockett in my mind. So I agree with you where you're putting him on your list. Brandon Cooks is definitely a guy that he no matter where he's gone, no matter what quarterback he's played for, no matter what systems he's been thrown into, he's been on 3 different teams and he's thrived in every single one of them. Barring health, whenever he's on the field, he is producing. No matter who's throwing the ball, it could be anybody, man. And he was, granted, he did have Drew Brees, but even at that time, Drew Brees was, towards the bottom of the ending years of his career for the most part. So he wasn't ever like a big arm guy. Drew Brees was never that. So he's a big time playmaker. He's making big plays with a non-big arm quarterback. So you put him with a big arm quarterback. Not the Jared Goffs, not the Drew Breeses, Patrick Mahomes. That would be fireworks in my mind. So I think he's a smart guy. He's an aged veteran. Would be good for this, let alone on the field. He'd be good for this locker room. He would enjoy being on a winning team, and he's been stuck with the Texans. So he's had fun in L.A. That was like one of the best offenses we've seen. That was one of the greatest games I ever witnessed when we played them in L.A. Brandon Cooks in my mind is definitely tops of the list for sure. Production-wise, skill set-wise.
And then last year he had, I believe, 1,000 yards and like 6 touchdowns or something. Who was his quarterback?
Exactly. Davis Mills on a bag of tricks. You know what I mean?
Who was his quarterback? Right. You can still ask the question. Who was his quarterback? And he went out there and put up
a coordinator.
Yeah. And he went out there and put his numbers. So, he would definitely be a great fit.
Him and MBS?
He'll be cheap. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love it, man. I would love that.
It'll just elevate this offense. I guess any top receiver that you put in this offense would just take this offense to that next level that we already know that they're almost there. All we need is that extra little push. You don't need a top tier wide receiver to push this offense over the edge. I think a Brandon Cooks or like a Tyler Lockett would put this offense to levels that we could only dream of. You know what I mean? So with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, any wide receiver is a perfect fit for this offense.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited.
Well, and then the guy that takes up my 2 spot on my list is Scary Terry McLaurin. The reason why is Scary Terry gives you everything that you would literally want in a receiver in this particular offense. I mean, literally everything. For one, The man is only 26 years old. Not even 27 years old yet, right? He's played only 3 years in the league. He's played all 3 with Washington. His rookie season, he put up 58 receptions and 919 yards and 7 touchdowns. You guys tell me who this quarterback was that whole season? Didn't even have Alex Smith for the full year. Okay, so that tells you right there the dude was productive with average at best quarterback.
Ryan Fitzpatrick and then Heineke. Yeah.
Yes, and then in 2020, his sophomore season, he has 87 receptions for 1,100 yards and 4 touchdowns. Last season, with all the crap that's going on in Washington last year, has over 1,000 yards with 77 receptions and 5 touchdowns, and played really well in primetime games as well. He made himself very much known in primetime games. Contractually, I love this because this gives the Chiefs an opportunity to have a long-term answer at wide receiver. He's 20. He'll be 27 years old when he's available for a contract extension. And as we talked, the Chiefs don't like extending guys beyond 28 years old. So that's that real fine line of the Chiefs being able to go and get that guy. Contractually, they can give a 4 or 5 year deal to if he fits the offense perfectly. And the guy is extremely durable.
Yep.
He's only missed, looking right here, three games his entire career.
Yeah.
I mean,
And he's
only 3 years.
heavily depended on.
Played all 17 games last season. He is an undersized receiver.
Yeah.
He's 6 foot, so he's not undersized. He's right at that good
he's
honest
pretty
number.
thin, but-
210
Like,
pounds.
he's like that.
Yes,
that's a good size.
210. That's what they have.
Same
Matt.
size as my favorite guy here.
So that is my number 2. I think Terry would be an incredible asset. Cheap. He's not expensive. He's only $3 million against the
Great
cap.
route runner.
Great route runner.
Great
Young.
route runner, yeah.
So the Chiefs want to keep him. They can absolutely keep it. He wouldn't blow the record books up. You can get him probably for 18 to 20 million, which I would gladly pay Terry
Great
McLaurin
hands,
for.
yeah.
Great hands, durable. Yes, across the board
He
for
checks
Scary
all the
Terry.
boxes.
What do you think, Trev?
Oh man, I mean he. Outside of my favorite guy, Terry McLaurin is my guy because of the youth. But I do think I do think he's gonna. I mean, it depends on what his market's gonna look like when his free agency comes up. It should be, but I think it's kind of hurt him that he hasn't been able to produce as much as he could be with good talent at quarterback. So I think it hurts his market a little bit for the fact that he hasn't been, because he's had some massive dry spells just because of the lack of good quarterback play. There's been and
he's on a contract year.
Yeah, so there's so this year is the year for him to. And I think him and Carson Wentz honestly could thrive together this year, off like numbers wise. They're probably not going to win a lot of games, but I think Carson Wentz could find him fairly well. Because I mean, if you just force feed this kid, he's going to produce. Yep. He's that good. So he would, on my list, he would be second because I love his skill set. He is the kind of player that I want the Chiefs to get a significantly upgrade on the route running abilities. Great, reliable hands. Has the ability to have game-breaking plays where he can beat guys over the top because he is fast. He's the perfect size in my mind for a number 1 wide receiver, right around 6 foot 6'1" height with a little over 210 pounds. That's like the perfect prototypical receiver for me, especially in this offense. I don't need a guy that's super tall. Those guys are reliable for like the big give and get it plays in the red zone and so on. That's we have tight ends for as well. But I love everything about this kid. I love he's a complete receiver. He absolutely is a complete receiver. He hasn't even hit his potential yet. And he's had, 1,100 yard years. So, I mean, this kid has the potential to hit the 1,500 yard mark, 1,600 yard mark. Because I think he's that creative. Not only is he good at catching the ball and running really good routes and creating separation, he's incredible with the ball in hands, too. He's tough as nails. He can take a good hit. And he's a smart guy. He's a film junkie. That's what I've always heard in the reports on him. So, I would be over the moon if we figured out a way to land this kid, man, honestly.
If he's a film junkie, you know who else is a film junkie? Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and he's young, man. I want those young guys.
They're young. Yeah. It's a contract year, so if it doesn't pan out, he's like you can, and it's not going to cost you like a first round pick to get him either. Right. So you're not losing a first round pick for somebody that you're only going to be on a 1 year rental.
Right.
So you can either sign him,
it depends on how much he's going to want.
Trade for him and then sign him to an extension. At that point, it could be cheaper because you don't know if he's going to come here and just fucking tear it up with Patrick Mahomes, and his numbers are just going to, his contract numbers are just going to skyrocket. Yeah. So it'd be if the Chiefs were to trade for him, sign him at an extension then and there for a couple more years, and then have control over him, and then maybe move on after your second or third season with him. But yeah, you can, like I said, you can only see upside with any receiver in this league. But I didn't have him in my top 5. I didn't even look at that at Washington for a receiver or anything like that. Not because he's not a great receiver. I just I had other options, thinking they were better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and then my top guy. This might come off as a pipe dream to a lot of people, but it's somebody that I think is the best fit overall for the Chiefs, and it's A.J. Brown.
I was going to say, T.O.'s not coming back.
I mean, at 46 years old, I think I'd still take the guy. But A.J. Brown, to me, is what... I think he would be the perfect receiver for Patrick Mahomes.
A.J. Brown.
Oh, no, type.
A.J. Brown, he's had some injury concerns. He's missed 3 games. He missed 4 games last season. Missed 2 games the season before. Yep. But this guy has been so productive with an average at best quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. So in just 3 years, the guy has 3,000 receiving yards and 24 touchdowns. Yeah. With, again, an offense that is centered around what? The greatest running back of our generation.
Which helps
a quarterback.
Him in a way,
he can, but we know that Ryan Tannehill is extremely limited, especially in crunch time. Yeah. Getting the ball to A.J. Brown, who's also had a share with other really good receivers as well throughout his career, has been somebody that I think has been ultra productive. And here's the best part. As we just talked about with Terry McLaurin, he's also going into his rookie contract year.
Yeah, but...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'd rather. If you're talking about getting him that, but I mean, if he thrives in this offense, this is why I want. This is why when we get to my guy, I want a guy that's already in a contract already, that's friendly to the team. That makes more sense to me. If you can get a young guy that's already in a contract, because A.J. Brown is gonna want to get paid, bro. He's probably gonna want to get out of Tennessee, and I don't think the Chiefs are gonna pay him what I think he's gonna. Because I with you, talent wise, fit. This guy might be the best as far as overall dominance. If he can stay healthy, this guy is incredibly dominant. The craziest part is him and DK Metcalf were teammates at one point, and that is just insane to even fathom. And go watch that tape; it's wild. But those two guys they're oaks, man. They're monsters. They're fast. They're strong. He is an absolutely complete receiver for sure. But he has had soft tissue issues, which is worrisome already at a young age. Don't like that, but I feel like he's gonna want to get paid, and this is my personal opinion. I'm not the Chiefs. I'm not Brett Veach. I'm not the ownership here. I don't know if they're willing to pay someone, but if they weren't willing to pay Tyreek, north of $27 million a year, I'm not paying A.J. Brown or anyone else because they're not better than Tyreek. They're not more dynamic than Tyreek. So I think if we find a way to trade for him and get him in here this year, he's going to want to get some fat money, especially if he blows up this season. And I'm not willing to pay a guy that much money to keep him here. That's just where I'm at. But I mean, as far as fit, if we could figure that out, absolutely A.J. Brown would be his numbers would be astronomical here, man. So especially like you said, with Ryan Tannehill throwing on the ball compared to Patrick Mahomes throwing on the ball on this offense would be insane. We could go down the list, and any one of these guys would be absolutely insane in this offense. But A.J. Brown, the dominant size, speed, route running capabilities, his ability to track the ball is so incredible. That throw in that playoff game, the game against the Bengals. Yeah. Tannehill put that absolutely. No one could have placed that ball better than when Tannehill put that ball. But that catch was incredible. His awareness is so good. Of course, man. I get nervous, man, bringing these guys in here on a prove-it deal. I'd rather them already be locked into a contract that we can just kind of take on if it's already kind of a team-friendly, which we'll get to that.
Well, and that's the thing, real quick, just to add to that. Yeah. If that's the fact, then you really only have one guy on this list that I've comprised that you have to go with. It's Tyler Lockett or Brandon Cooks, I guess you could say, with having one more year left on his deal. Mm-hmm. So Tyler Lockett would be the only guy on that list. What are your thoughts, Eddie, on A.J. Brown and Trevor? I want to get your guy as far as who you think is the ideal fit.
Yeah. I mean, he put up numbers with Ryan Tannehill, who, like you said, is an average at best quarterback. No shade at Tannehill, but that's just the facts.
He's always been that,
he's always been with Miami. He's
efficient, but he's not elite in any way.
He's not an elite quarterback. So for somebody to put those kind of numbers with the average at best quarterback, it definitely elevates your abilities. So it definitely puts interest in yourself. And then imagine putting him with the top tier quarterback. It's just absurd. So I think by far he would be probably a top fit for the Chiefs. But how healthy can he stay when he comes to Kansas City?
Look, and
for the past 2 seasons, he's made, like you said, 6 games I think for the past 2 seasons. So it's not like he's getting younger and healthier. He's getting older, and can he stay healthy throughout the? So
yeah, I mean, and look, the way what the production in the success that we got out of Tyreek Hill is a steal. Looking at how he did that, right? We paid a little over $60 million for his years here, pretty much, contract wise. He was definitely paid under market. We got the production credit. He was going through his things, and he got himself into some entanglements.
And that's why he got underpaid. But
right.
Yeah.
So we found success that way. I think there's other ways we can find success, with other guys that are nearly as good and talented as these guys we've listed. That are already in a contract, and there's some saying like the AJ Browns, the McLaurens, the DK Metcalfs of the world.
Locket.
These guys are all in that prove it year, that year before their big sign.
Big
I don't want to be the team that signs these guys to the big deal. So I don't want to bring these guys in for if we're going to trade someone, if we're going to trade a first round pick and bring an extremely good talent in this offense, I don't want to be tied to them for years in a bad contract.
Give us your guy, because I know who it is, but I haven't seen this name on there because of what
it's not likely.
Yeah,
but for me, if I'm looking at from the top down, from the outside in, I think DJ Moore is the best fit. I think he's just as good, if not better, than McLaurin. Look at his numbers. I'll just give you his numbers real fast. So DJ Moore is my guy if we can make it happen. Because Carolina, man, dude, they've been tanking. Christian McCaffrey cannot stay healthy. They just restructured his contract to keep him there. They don't have a real good answer at quarterback. Their defense is okay. I think they're a team that might be having a fire sale after this season. I really do. And I want to try to get DJ Moore now. So his last 3 seasons, and this is with Teddy Bridgewater, who was banged up that year, and Sam Darnold, who, Mr. I see ghosts, Casper out there, right? So the last 3 years, he's had 87. So in 2019, he had 87 catches for 1,175 yards on an average of 13.5 yards per catch, with 4 touchdowns. The touchdowns need to come up, but it is what it is. He has his quarterback. His quarterback is who it was. So 2020, 66 catches for almost 1,200 yards, 18 yards per catch, 4 touchdowns. The guy is an absolute big playmaker. Obviously, 18 yards per catch, only 66 catches, almost 1,200 yards on 66 catches. That's big play after big play right there. And then last year, 93 catches for for 1,157 yards, 12.4 per catch, 4 touchdowns. So he's consistent. His numbers are big. He's a big play guy, and he's really, dude. He's 6 foot. 210 pounds, similar size to McLaurin. Him and McLaurin are very similar players, very good route runners, great hands, big playability. I think, and he's already in his hit. So his contract, let me see, pull up his contract here. His contract he's already locked in. They've already extended him. 3-year deal for $61 million. That's right around $20 million a year, only 41 guaranteed.
Right.
If we can take on that contract and get a big playmaker like that and DJ Moore, who's, in my mind, an elite talent, I think he's got major potential to be elite, especially in this offense. If we can lock a guy in for $41 million guaranteed, and he's 24 years old, is 6 foot, 210 pounds, has that big playability with those shitty quarterbacks.
And that's the only reason why I did not have
if
DJ.
We can make that happen.
The only reason I didn't have DJ Moore in there is because, again, he just got his extension.
Right.
So it's hard for me to imagine the Panthers would move off of him a month after they just paid him. So that's the only reason.
But if we could promise them with some picks and maybe a future, and they want to, because there was talks about them trading Christian McCaffrey.
Well, let me ask you this.
If they're willing to trade him, why would they not want to trade him?
Obviously, this is like my, imaginary list or whatever.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
But the only player that I didn't mention on my list, I didn't have him number 1. He was my 5th, but we didn't mention him.
Kupp.
No, we didn't mention him. And I know he can be expensive, but he's under contract, and obviously you can restructure and do what you can.
Sign a bonus.
But it's Michael Thomas from New Orleans Saints.
He's on my list.
He would fucking be phenomenal, especially in the new style of offense that I think that the Chiefs are going towards.
That's a good point. Moving the sticks.
Yep. I think he would be a top fit for this offense. I want to say he's the perfect fit. Like for me, it was DK Metcalf at my number 1 spot. But Michael Thomas, the only reason I had him at 5th was because of that contract. He has a massive, $28 million, I think, next year.
Yeah.
As a cap hit, and I think
he's not
20.
worth that.
Yeah, so
I love him, but he's
so
not
I'm saying if we can trade for him and restructure that contract, because I think 2022 is a $13 million cap hit, so it wouldn't hit too much this season, and then you would just have to restructure the remaining two years. So that would be for me a great fit, especially the way this like I said, the way this offense is going is the offense going more towards a quick. Quick lance, and he's great at that. So
I would agree with you. The problem is, because when I comprised my list, I looked at, does this guy make sense in 2 to 3 ways, not just one? Like
Yeah.
on field, oh my God,
He's got to
Michael
be able to do it
Thomas.
all. Michael Thomas is not a deep
He would
guy.
make so much sense on the field. The problem is also, though, even with the on-field part, he's not really on the field that much. Dude's missed a season and a half, essentially.
And he's had some off-field issues.
And he's about 30 years old. He's 29
I'm
now.
saying, give me DJ Moore, 24.
Yeah, so
just
I
turned
agree
24.
with you. Like 2018, 2019, Michael Thomas was unreal. But is that the same guy we're going to get? Because that's the only dude I'm trading for. If you can get 2018, 2019 Michael Thomas, give me that. But that's kind of where I'm at. We're going to continue this conversation because I put that on hold for a minute because, as you guys can see, whenever I put my headsets on, you guys know what this is about. We're about to get into business. We're about to make some things happen. So, as promised, I promised to deliver because that's what we do here. We give you guys a promise and we follow through. 11-year Chief, a man that I respect dearly and deeply, and is a very busy man, goes on his own show, goes on other shows like this show. Chief Concern co-host and a favorite of mine, a guy that I have grown up admiring and loving, and now is a personal friend of mine, and I deeply respect, and I have him on here because I want to get his takes, his opinions on all things Chiefs and all things NFL. Let's give it up for one, Jason Dunn!
What's going on? Can y'all hear me? Y'all good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's up, man?
What's up, fellas? What's going on with y'all today?
Man, we're just happy to be here talking football with you, Jason. How are you, buddy?
Good. I came in on the conversation, so I was like, okay, this is pretty juicy.
Make way. So listen, man, I want to get right to it. This offseason, I started the show off by saying that I think this is about as uncomfortable of an offseason as we've had in the Mahomes era because, going into the 2019 and 2020 offseasons, we're like, oh, everything's good. We're feeling good. They're bringing it back. They're running it back. What could go wrong? Now, things are changing. We're seeing the roster change. We're seeing the Chiefs make uncomfortable moves. They don't even give Tyrann Mathieu a contract extension or even an offer, rather. They go and trade Tyreek Hill. We're looking at this team and we're like, okay, there's only 4 guys left on this roster that were here before Patrick Mahomes. This is really and rapidly becoming his team. Jason, looking at this Tyreek trade, I know it was uncomfortable, but looking at it now for over a week, 2 weeks now, it makes a lot of sense for the Chiefs moving forward and maybe even this year if they do right with the draft picks. What was your initial response and reaction to what took place, and where are you at now with the Tyreek Hill trade in particular?
I think you said all the right words. It's uncomfortable, really. I mean, to me, it was kind of a head scratcher, especially when we were waiting just for free agency to see what was going to go on, what the Chiefs were going to do. And so we didn't quite see all the moves. We've seen everybody else going free agency, everybody else getting signed, especially spots that we needed, right? Everybody else was addressing their needs. And it was just seemed like we were just like, okay, we're just going to twiddle our thumbs a little bit, wait around to see what was going on. And it was like, what's happening? Finally, because we're looking for that wide receiver number 2. So what are we looking for? We're looking like offensively. We need to address this issue, right? We just felt like, Pringle and Robinson wasn't really getting it done. As far as the consistency that you needed from a wide receiver, you needed a guy here. So we signed Juju. So we're like, okay, yeah, good, right? Hey, man, it works. Perfect. That's the guy we need. And then all of a sudden, the bombshell hits. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on? Now all of a sudden Tyreek doesn't sign, and now he's, we allowed him to go talk to other teams, and next thing you know, he's in Miami deucing us up. So it was a little hard to swallow at the time. I was upset, but I think I kind of eased into it. You just got to sit back and reflect. Everything was emotional at first, just like everything, it's an emotional reaction, right? Because everybody gets invested, and Cheetah's been here, and I feel sorry for everybody who got the number 10 jersey, right? And Cheetah, and have the, that's that whole deal. But I'm good with it because this. Look, I played a long time, and I've seen things like this happen on teams before. That's how these things work. The thing is, you're wondering what is the team going to look like and shape into now, right? I mean, arguably one of the best prolific receivers of our time, but without a doubt. I'm talking, skill set, his speed, quickness. I mean, he had it all, the whole package. And what he did is he transformed himself into a really good wide receiver. And so, people, I hear all the Twitter talk, and all the hands was somewhat, and people would obviously, what you try to do, you try to validate the move. Well, we don't like seeing the ball go through his hands, and we're glad. Look, listen, let me tell you something. And I think everybody, one thing you can't do is minimize the guy's talent. I don't care. I mean, you have to be an idiot. I mean, seriously, to sit there and say, well, you know what, that was kind of a good move. Like, that doesn't feel good at all. I mean, when I say one of the most exciting guys, and I said this, and I thought this through my head, there was 5 guys I've ever seen pretty much kind of in my life that played on the football field that I've seen myself, like just transforming things that they've done. I think number 1 was like Barry Sanders. I watched Barry Sanders one time when I was playing with the Eagles, played against him. And I remember he made 8 guys miss. I have never seen anything like it. And I remember we were just talking about, like, look, you got to watch this guy play. Like, obviously we're playing against him, but now you become a fan. And he was doing things out there on the football field that you were just like, man, this is absolutely insane. Then another guy I had out there was LT, Lawrence Taylor. Now, I didn't play against him, but I remember just watching him, just on Sundays, the things that he would just do. And it was just almost like unfair. Like the speed he had, how he was just beating guys. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And that's it. Another one, I played Reggie White. He's another guy that I just, when I used to see him just throw guys left to right, it just seemed like he was just a man amongst boys, the way he was just doing guys. And I had Cheetah up there just with his skill set. When somebody changes the game, when you have to, like, think defensively, like, look, we got to put a different scheme together. And everybody's, copying your scheme as far as, like, what we need to do to stop the Chiefs. I mean, he literally had defensive coordinators up, at night. Like, this is the guy we can't let beat us. We cannot let him get deep, right? We just can't do it. If not, he's going to go for 200, 300 yards in the first half. But, I mean, we know what this guy can do.
Yep.
So a talent like that, is really hard to swallow. It really is. But now everything settles, right? Everything settles. Dust settles a little bit. You see what you get through the whole process with the draft picks and whatnot, and you see that now the Chiefs have somewhat of a plan. Let me put it that way, right? Unbeknownst to us what it is, right? I mean, they know what's going on. They know how they deal with this thing, man. Andy, Veach, and those guys been around for a long time. And so, they're just not making, like, moves just, hey, it's not how it is, man. It's the NFL. So there's guys out here, there's things they've been doing. They pay these scouts and everybody a lot of money, a ton of money, to go find these diamonds in the rough, try to get a guy here. There's a lot of things going behind closed doors. And so this is where we are.
Yeah. I talk about how you can't replace Tyreek. I think you would agree with that. There's no 1-for-1. No. I don't even know if there's a 2-for-1 when it comes to the dynamic playmaking ability that he brings to the table. And I agree with you. He's one of the most unprecedented talents I've ever seen. And not at wide receiver, but in the NFL. He's the ultimate weapon.
Absolutely.
So I feel that the only way that Chiefs can really reallocate the ability he brings and the value he brings is actually on the other side of the ball, where they go and they stockpile defense in order to give Patrick Mahomes what he needs on the defensive side. Because if you're taking away a dynamic playmaker on the offensive side, you need to assure Patrick that when the offense goes into the I wouldn't say into the slumps, but if they don't have that dynamic ability, you better have a dynamic defense. And we talk about the draft picks. We talk about the Chiefs having 12 total. For me, I would love to see the team go and get guys in the draft, because I think Brett Veach has shown that he can go and get day one contributors in the draft with last year's draft class with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith when he got L'Jarius Sneed a couple years ago in the late rounds. He can do it. But I would like to see the Chiefs go out there and trade for day one contributors that are already in the league. In particular, Josh Allen from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I keep preaching that. A 24-year-old phenomenal pass rusher. They have the relationships with Doug Peterson and Joe Colin coming over here from Jacksonville to Kansas City. Doug Peterson being an offensive coordinator. Now the head coach for the Jaguars. Andy Reid connection. I feel like there are options out there for the Chiefs to go and get guys like that at the most important position at edge rush and getting to the quarterback. The Chiefs finished 29th overall last year, and getting to the quarterback, I feel, was a big reason why they didn't get back to the Super Bowl, because they couldn't sack Joe Burrow enough, and they didn't give Chris Jones enough help. Frank Clark's not doing his job. How do you, if you were running this thing, Jason, how would you like to utilize these 12 picks that the Chiefs have this offseason?
Look, I'm right with you, and I agree with you 100%. Josh Allen is an absolute physical specimen. He played here at Kentucky, and so I watched him his whole time here. And well, one of the strength coaches was a great friend of mine, and so I would go to the facility, and he would just rave about this guy. Look, he said, JD, he said, man, I'm telling you, I've never seen a guy that's built like this, that can move like this, and can do what it can do. And I think last year we were kind of talking about it, and I was actually saying his name, Josh. Look, man, go get him. Please go get this guy. I mean, this dude, what I'm telling you, is phenomenal. Like when you a young guy like that you can lean your hat on, absolutely, no doubt about it. And we have the draft capital that you can do something like that and move like that. I wouldn't be mad at that whatsoever. A guy like that is proven that I know is a star. That he's another guy that you like when you sit there, you watch him on film. It's like, okay, there's no question about it, right? There's guys that are coming out in the draft. There's questions about the guy. How's it going to be? We don't know how he's going to fit in the scheme. What he's going to do. How's he going to go against London Brown Jr. How's he going to go against Trent Williams? How's he going to go against these guys who are all pros? That's always the question. When I was helping in the combine, that was the thing. You always ask these guys, the scouts, when you're in the room, you're talking. It's like, how's this guy going to relate all these things on Sunday? Yeah, it's different when you're in college and this guy over here, like I said, is majoring in bird watching. It's different. He don't have any incentive going to the NFL. He may not make it. And so, a guy like that, if you can use the draft picks that you have to get a guy like that in, I'm not mad at that at all. The thing is, you just got to be really selective about which ones you're using. You don't want to hamstring yourself, right? You don't want to we want to give you a first and a second. Okay, wait a minute. Let's really talk turkey here. Okay, this guy's a phenomenal dude. Get this guy in here. He would be great. And I think like you said, Dougie's down that way now, and Dougie's a guy is a good guy. I like Dougie a lot. Play with him, and so they might be talking. It could be a thing, right? Because Jacksonville has the first pick of the draft, right? So that's one of those things that look, Hutchinson's going first. Okay, I think it's pretty much kind of across the board. Everybody's thinking, regardless of it, he's a guy that you got to go ahead and take, right? So we know that they have a need. And I was looking at the picks. I'm like, okay, Jacksonville definitely going to have that. So you had to look at it one of two ways. Do they say, well, look, we're going to bolster everything that we're doing on defense, right? Keep Josh here, get this guy Hutchinson here, right, and just do an overhaul to give Doug everything that he needs, right? And Doug's a dangerous guy, man. I mean, he's a thinker. I mean, he's a protege of Andy. So I know in his mind what he's thinking. He's thinking of offense, attack, right? He's trying to win this thing. And so what he's not going to do is, like I said, he's not going to hamstring himself. So I know that's one thing that you addressed, right, on defense. I think you said the right thing. You addressed that side of the ball. I think we did another thing, right, was getting Ronald Jones here. I think that's another thing that you do offensively is, hey, Cheetah's gone, right? We know defense was kind of the Achilles heel in a little bit. Didn't quite stop what we needed. Like you said, Chris needed some help. Didn't get some guys, get after guys. It just didn't seem to resonate with everybody, right? I mean, it didn't leave a taste in their mouth because we've seen, hey, Tennessee had like 9 sacks. These guys had like 8 sacks against this guy. How come we're not getting the sacks, right? Yep. I mean, old Joe's out there looking like didn't he have ACL and he's running around and we like, what's going on? So offensively, you address Ronald Jones because I believe that was one thing that you had to do. what you do is you fortify your offense as well, right? Like you said, there's no replacing Tyreek. But if we get 2 or 3 guys that can, hey, you know what, still come in and support what you want to do offensively, okay? Use them as a weapon. We know we got Hardman still here. Hardman, still has the speed. We got MDS here, which is a great thing with the speed. But that running game, you have to have a guy that can run in between the tackles. I'm sorry, we just couldn't avoid it. As much as we wanted to, I'm just like, man, we have to address it in the room. I love CEH so much. I love these guys. I like McKinnon. I like these guys. But we need a dude that is absolutely going to light up the field on fire when he's running the football, right? And Ronald Jones gives us that element. But offensively, you kind of at least try to get a guy here like that. Defensively, like you said, you have to have, I don't care. And I've said this, draft-wise, to me, edge, D-line, maybe secondary corner, maybe another linebacker. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm all heavy, defensively, right? That's how I'm looking at it. So, bottom line, I don't care what you do. If I see, everybody's talking about getting a wide receiver in the first round. If it depends on what you get. Seriously, it's the same thing. Like I've said, look, we could get Tyler Lockett here. Lockett's in the deal. We get him here. He's here to 2026, right? A proven guy. We know that it's not really going to cost you a whole lot of money. You know what I'm saying? We got the money when it comes in the future, so we can do that deal. A young guy comes in. He's got to learn the offense. He's still got to learn the speed of the game. Those guys, to me, it's really kind of suspect because I've seen it. I'm telling you, I've seen it all. I've seen, first rounders come in and it's just like, well, okay, what'd you expect, right? Now he's looking at Jalen Ramsey on the side, okay? He's not going against a guy that, taking quantum physics. You know what I mean? It's not the same thing. So it's different. So that's kind of where I'm at, man. Offense, defense, doing those things, but you have to make sure you fortify on both sides of the ball, especially with the Tyreek Hill trade. I know I said a lot, but that's kind of my mindset here.
It's great because these are some of the answers I was going to have to the questions I was about to ask. It's like you're reading my mind, JD. It's hilarious, man, because we actually, right before you came on the show, we were talking about adequate replacements at wide receiver, because I'm with you, and I've been preaching that on the show. I think Trevor and Eddie share my sentiments here, that when it comes to the draft, whatever draft picks the Chiefs end up having on draft day, they do need a stockpile on the defensive side. I know there's this obsession with guys like Jameson Williams, Olave, other good receivers in this draft, but the Chiefs are going to have to trade up in the first round just to get to those guys, because those guys are going to go in the first 15, 20 picks, and the Chiefs have the 29th and 30th overall pick, which was why the Tyreek trade initially didn't excite me, because you didn't get any surefire contributors, sure things out of Xavier Howard or Jalen Waddle, any guy like that. And you also got a late first-round pick as the premier piece. Yeah. So the Chiefs would have had to utilize their 2 first-rounders just to get up to get one of those wide receivers. And like you just said, you nailed it on the head. That guy's going to have to learn this offense throughout his entire rookie year, because you've seen Andy Reid offenses. It takes guys a year, sometimes 2 years, to really maximize their potential in that offense to understand how detailed this offense is, which is why defense is imperative, not to mention the fact the majority of the holes on this roster are on the defensive side, even though it's been more expensive side of the ball being on the defensive side. So looking at the available receivers, because we've heard that the Chiefs are aggressively looking at guys, and they did open up over $20 million in cap space with trading Tyreek Hill. I know you mentioned Tyler Lockett, but there are guys like Terry McLaurin, Brandon Cooks, even DK Metcalf, a teammate of Tyler Lockett's, is available. If you had a pick of the men out there that we've heard mentioned about the Chiefs inquiring of, even Laviska Shenault from Jacksonville as well with Doug Peterson, who would be your guy? Would it be Tyler Lockett or someone else?
Without a doubt, it'd be Tyler Lockett, just because, for one, he's to me, he's family. I watch this joker grow up, with Kevin here playing with the Chiefs. I mean, when I'm talking about a solid guy, solid man, just the way he carries himself, he's going to be a consummate pro. He's not one of those guys that is a prima donna at all. He goes out there and just does work, and he's just solid in what he's doing. Very measured man. I mean, when I'm talking about a good heart, he understands. Like I said, look, because he was raised, in an NFL household. He was raised around, Tony Gonzalez and, Jason Dunn and all. I mean, he's been raised around NFL, right? He understands it fully through. He would absolutely be my pick, no doubt about it. Like I said, it's just personal pick, but also too, when you look at what Tyler can do, without a doubt, man, he had great hands, he got great speed. He had Russell throwing the ball to him, and I think because everybody kind of looks at DK Metcalf, next thing you know, you see Tyler got 100 something. Like, geez, he just got 12 balls today. Yes, he did.
Yeah,
and he's torching them, like he's torching guys. Ain't he he just barely got open? No, I'm telling you, he's outrunning them. He's running great routes, precise routes. I mean, I'm just saying, man, he's a consummate pro. He would be my first guy to take, no doubt. Now, my second guy, and when this thing came out with Mclaren, I said, okay, all right, I can see that. I like him a lot too. I've had him on my fantasy, so I've always look. How you just. Ooh, okay. Yeah. So, I like Mclaren. I think he brings a lot of different things to the game. He's just been on kind of a bad team. He has some guys kind of throw to him, Heineke, and he's had some bad deals with quarterbacks, right? Yep. But he's been effective. But also too, looking at fantasy, I'm looking at the games. I'm just like, man, this dude, he just disappears, right? Sometimes he just kind of get eaten up. But I would take him. He'll be my second pick. Cooks, I like Cooks. I like it. Probably wouldn't cost a lot of money. I don't know. He's kind of a journeyman. And sometimes, when you have guys that are journeymen, at least for me, sometimes it kind of red flags because it's like, okay, how come teams are like on him and then they're off of him, right? Like he's so easy to give away. It's like, okay. It's like, when you have somebody in a relationship and somebody's like, oh, no, go ahead. You got what? It's easy to just give away like that? I take
buy, sell, trade.
Yeah. Somebody's always looking. So, DK, I like DK, but he's my last choice and everything, right? I mean, he is. He's a talent, no doubt about it. Big guy. I mean, we know physically what he can do. But if you allow me, Lance, let me kind of spin it here, right?
Do it.
So we're looking at all the free agents who's out here. And so, when it came on Twitter, the guys that we have in the room, okay? And this is why I'm kind of high on Josh Gordon, Powell, and those guys is here with the Chiefs right now, okay? Same thing. Josh Gordon's 30 years old, okay? He's 30. Still got physical body. Hadn't really been in any consistent offense for the last few years, right? I mean, and that's significant. People don't understand how significant it is. Like when, you come into playing and you haven't done so for a long time, it's like, especially like certain positions, right? Some positions you can kind of get away with. Like a quarterback is always going to have an arm. If he's played a game before, the timing and stuff he's going to, kind of have, right? It's just getting the rust off, him learning the offense, and he could become an effective guy. Wide receiver, if you haven't had the legs of running against guys and guys leaning on you and like getting into defenses and that spacing of understanding that, the IQ and whatnot, which he's a smart guy. They always say how smart he is, which is, I think, that's outstanding that you have a guy who's smart, who understands those things. He's a guy that I know Andy and those guys and Bieniemy and Nagy are looking at while they're working out. So we're talking about free agencies, this and that, and the draft. Andy and those guys are like this out here while he's working out, looking at it. I promise you, they are taking a great gander at this guy, right? They talked about his physical attributes in camp all last year, when he first got here. And everybody's like, man, look, this dude, he's got it. He still has it. Now it's just where your body and your mind is kind of, syncing together with everything, right? Offensively, like what it is what we want you to do, okay? But sometimes what you end up doing, like you get so caught up into a system for so long that get into like new vernacular and terminology and, trying to say, this is what we need from you when we're talking about spacing, right? Like we need for you to, this is how we do things when we're finding the windows and whatnot. Like we know you're a big body. One of the things I always heard, like John Gruden told me this when I came out. He said, Jason, I don't need robots. Everybody knows how to run, a crossing route or a comeback and all those different things. What I need a cross route and a comeback from you. I need an out from you, from your skill set, right? To fit into the things that we do. And so once you start putting all those things together, like it's almost like it all just opens up, right? It's like when you're painting and whatnot, and all of a sudden you just see this masterpiece. And I think what they're looking at, it's like this, painting this picture right now during this offseason with these guys. Powell and Coleman, Fountain and those guys. They're just kind of putting them out there in art and see what, how's it shaping and everything. And hopefully they're sitting there saying, look, we can lean on these guys. We know now Josh is going to be, running routes. He's understanding things even more. He's looking at film. He's talking to these guys. Look, they have him one-on-one. That's the beauty of it, right? I'm talking about Andy, Bieniemy, and Nagy. All can sit there and talk to this guy, within bounds, right? I don't want to sit there and say, call the NFL, say you violate these type of rules where you're not supposed to be like, hey, wait a minute, hold on. There's rules to these things. Yeah. But I know they can utilize this guy. They talking to him what you can be in this offense, right? And I know he's probably eating it all up. And I'm high on him. That's why I'm so high on him, because I know what he can do. He's only 30 years old. He hadn't really been anywhere. If y'all seen Tyler Thickpick came on the show, Tyler played with him. Tyler was like, look, man, this guy, look, when I'm telling you, like, talent-wise, hey, I haven't really seen any guys that have that type of talent. And so a guy that can high point the ball, who has great hands, we always know he's always had great hands, high point the ball, he has a big body. All it translated to this offense, then good, right? Free agencies, hey, that's one thing to look. But you want to look inside first, right? You're looking, hey, if we got the guy here in the room, in this building, cool. Then we can do what we want to do in the draft, right? And then, of course, you want to get a young guy in. I'm not saying you don't do it, but you don't quite move up for the first round. Maybe you can find him in the second, right? Because you just got so many wide receivers, and the skill set in those positions, it's minimal. When you look at a first and second round guy, wide receiver, hey man, it's for real. Any guy like that, first and second, should be able to come here and play. That's how it is, right? Defensive ends and whatnot, you start seeing a little bit from Hutchinson to everybody else. You see that window, right? The skill set. So that's kind of where I am with it. That's why I'm high on like those guys in the room. But you was asking first, second guys I like: Tyler, Mclaren, Cooks, and then DK. But the guys in the room that's there at the Chiefs, who's working out, who's putting the work and stuff in, that they get to see every single day, that's a win for them.
Yeah, just a side note, actually, on your Josh Gordon stance is the fact that when I heard the Chiefs had acquired him, I didn't expect much just because of the recent results of his career, and knowing that he's come through a lot. I also was in a weird place because I also was cheering for Josh Gordon. Because obviously if he becomes something special in Kansas City again, like he was in 2013 for the Browns, the Chiefs overnight get themselves a wide receiver one at the fourth or fifth option, which is everything you could ever imagine. It's a fantasy. It's ideal. But when I saw him catch that first touchdown with Patrick Mahomes on the 1 yard line, I was almost emotional for the guy, because I also know that if he's to ever become something again in this league, he's one of the greatest stories in NFL history.
Yes.
Because he's one of the most talented receivers, I think, in NFL history. He's an absurd talent, and he's been through so much personally, and see him come back and fall back, come back and fall back. If he actually gets to finish his career on top and do something special on a team that could potentially win a Super Bowl, I don't know how you could tell the story of the NFL without Josh Gordon. And that's profound to say, because for the last decade, the better part of the last decade, We've been able to tell the story without Josh Gordon because he's been non-existent. So if he is to find his way again in this offense, and Andy Reid is to be able to tap into that potential and that talent again, like you mentioned, not even an old player yet, just 30 years old, he can have another 4 or 5 years of great football. Jason, this is one of the greatest stories ever, and I hope, man, I want to be as optimistic as you, because honestly, I'm not yet, but I'm hoping that something comes and transpires of Josh Gordon here in Kansas City, because I would love to see it happen with my team. So I'm with you on that. I hope that happens. I'm keeping my expectations low, but man, my hopes are high for Josh Gordon, because it's a great story for sure. And you're right, he has the talent and he works his ass off. So those two things, when you have the talent and you work your ass off, it usually pans out well for you. So we're all cheering for him, man. But a couple more questions for you before we get you out of here, and we appreciate your time so much, man. We see the rest of the AFC, in particular the AFC West, and how they're gearing up this year. And they're all out here saying, you know what, we're sick of seeing the Chiefs dominate this division, dominate this conference for a half decade now. We want to take it back. Jason, I like a lot of these moves. In fact, some of these moves I love for some of these teams. Yeah. But if you see the trend going on in the AFC, these teams are overspending in a lot of these aging veterans. You see the Chargers taking on $64 million guaranteed for a 31, soon-to-be 32-year-old Khalil Mack who's coming off of foot surgery. You're seeing the Bills giving a 5-year, $53 million guaranteed deal to Von Miller, who's going to be 33 years old, coming off multiple knee injuries. So he's still a great player, but he's going into his mid-30s. You're looking at a lot of these moves, you're thinking, man, these are desperation acts. For me, these teams are taking these extremes and these desperation measures just to get within arm's reach of where the Chiefs now are. Which is why, overly, I haven't panicked this offseason, even losing Tyreek Hill, because to me, the Chiefs are still at the top because they have something none of these other teams can get, which is the best head coach and quarterback duo in the league, which is the ultimate deciding factor, especially when you pencil in the offensive line they've built in Patrick Mahomes with the talent he still has around him, and a defense that I still think, with a couple pieces added, could be a top 10 to 15 defense. Even though these teams are making these moves, I'm not panicked because I still think the Chiefs can and will be at the top of the AFC West and, then more importantly, the top of the AFC. What are your thoughts on what you've seen in the landscape of the AFC as a whole, and do you think it's narrowed the gap against the Chiefs?
Yes, it has narrowed the gap. And I think the reason, and I know you said desperate moves, but we got to realize, like, one thing that getting some of these guys, because they want to get over the hump, okay? And it's like any other team. When you get into, like, the habit of winning and being in a certain position, sometimes you just psychologically, you want people to be there, right? You want your fans, you want the guys in the building to be there. So it's like, if this guy could get us over the hump with what we already have in the room, you know, like with Josh Allen, those guys, if this is the piece that we need, right, to beat Patrick Mahomes, to get to the Super Bowl, whatnot, who's to say we won't run, 4 AFC championships in a row, right? Like that's how you have to think. You have to think, look, it's not just about just beating this guy. We're trying to change the mindset and the culture here. And the only way you're going to be able to do it is get the right guys in the building to get us to that place, right? Because once you have that taste of, like, success and being there, that's the first thing, right? It's like that hump. You got to get over it. And so once you get over it, it's like, okay, we've done that. Now everybody has to chase us at this moment, right? Now we get everybody else being desperate where we were, a year ago or something like that, because we got the right guys in. And so part of it is just you want to change the mentality of people in the room, because it's the same thing like with being positive, the dopamine hit of just winning and going to the big dance to the AFC Championship game. You want that to resonate all the time, right? You want that memory to continue to be there all the time. It's the same thing like losing. It's like getting there, then all of a sudden you falter, right? And that stays in you too. That's another thing that's like psychologically, it's devastating to you, right? It's like, man, what do we need to do? We've done everything we need to do. Them guys up there with Buffalo, they felt like they did everything in the room, to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, right? They thought they had two games in a row on Arrowhead, of all places, right? The hardest place to go play. We almost beat the Chiefs twice, right? And I think it's why, like with Cincinnati was like, well, look, we kind of got the advantage now over the Chiefs. We got their number. We beat them twice. They had Patrick Mahomes. They had Tyreek Hill. What are they going to do? So when you start looking at these moves, part of the desperation, like they're saying, without a doubt, the Raiders, they needed another wide receiver. Zay Jones and guys wasn't going to cut it. Renfro was just not going to be enough. They got Waller. Okay, they feel like they got a good running back in Jacobs. They got a good quarterback in Carr. Devontae Adams changes the game significantly, right? And I think that was kind of like their problem was they weren't able to put up points like they needed to. Okay, they got a pretty decent defense. They're gonna come after you, and he had like Khalil Mack, right? So the thing you start looking Khalil Mack's with the Rams, but you start looking around like, look, dude, you have to think about who's the standard. The standard is Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, and what they do over there, right? You got to get everything, all your weapons, to make sure you decimate that. You got to get it to Patrick Mahomes so you get pass rushers, right? Can't let him do what he did. If you emulate what the guys did against him last year, you keep him in the pocket, you keep coming after him, okay, you have a spy on him, that's pretty much kind of the formula, right? That's what you do with Patrick Mahomes, okay? They don't really run the football, so you don't have to worry about that. We need pass rushers. They don't run the football. It's just Andy. That's not what they do. So when you see these things, you think about what the teams need to address. They went and got Russell Wilson, the Broncos. Hey, we got wide receivers. We got guys out here, right? We got Sutherland, Junie. We got these guys. So their defense was great. They got young guys, Sertain and all this. So you look at these things that teams are addressing just to beat the Chiefs. But you can't take the psychological ramifications of these things on teams when they're sitting there saying, we are coming so close to beating the Chiefs, who it is a standard. If we beat them, now we're the big dogs. And I'm saying that, man, because it's all about the winning. You always want winning. And that's why, like, when teams are talking about when you scout guys in college, you want guys coming from winning programs. I mean, it's just that's how you talk in the room. Hey, this guy right here, hey, he might not be as talented as this other guy over here, but this guy might be selfish. And I'll give you an example, basketball-wise, okay? And I'm really here to talk him down, but it's like Ben Simmons, okay? Ben Simmons, without a doubt, is a talented guy, without a doubt. I mean, what he can do, skill set and all of this, but he didn't really come from a winning program down at LSU. He didn't really do anything to kind of change the outlook of it. And then all of a sudden, when he comes to, Philly, you see what what everybody was talking about, okay? He has all the talent in the world, but mentally, he ain't there, right? He ain't where he needs to be professionally. And that's what when people look at these guys, you have to evaluate the whole scope of things, right? You have to look at the future of things. But if you're trying to do everything right now, you have to win right now. That's just the NFL. You got to win right now. If you got a chance to say, look, let's try to restructure everything, try to make this to like a long-term deal, long haul, cool. But now we got to win. We can't let these jokers keep winning, getting to the championship, and everything is going through Kansas City. We can't let that happen. We need to play in our own turf. And so I get it. I understand that part of it. I mean, you just want to play at home, man. You want to beat this guy, Patrick Mahomes, who's been a thorn in everybody's side for the past, ever since he's gotten in the league.
All right, final question for you, Jason. And this is the one that I've been waiting for. Because, you're a former tight end. You're a former teammate of Mr. Tony Gonzalez.
Yep.
And you're a big fan of Travis Kelce. Yep. Last month, I made a spicy tweet, and it was meant for no disrespect to anybody. And I appreciate you for being Mr. All-Class. When I said that I feel that Travis Kelce is the better tight end between him and Tony Gonzalez, and I stand on that. But it was more of just praise for Travis more than any knocking any other player. Like you said, you don't mean to take anybody down. You're just talking about the greatness of one.
Right.
And I remember you tweet me. You said, my dog Lance, the Chiefs have the two best tight ends to ever play the game. Both of these guys are great in my book. The argument is subjective, but those are the jokes. But those jokes got skills. And the emoji game you always bring is great. But see, Jason, my biggest problem with the tweet was you didn't include yourself in that. You said the Chiefs have had the two of the best tight ends to ever play the game. Where's the third one, man? Why isn't Jason Dunn getting his run? Like I said, I know Tony was great, but I felt like a lot of times he kept those receptions from getting to you, man. Because like you said, you weren't just a blocker. You had hands. You had route abilities. They saw it. So, Jason, can we pencil in the third here? Can we say that the Chiefs had 3 of the greatest tight ends to ever exist?
Absolutely.
Okay, there we go.
You can definitely do that. No doubt about it. Hey, man, like I said, it's all subjective. Let's say this. I always try to remain a humble guy in the things that I do. I know the fans appreciate it. I know everybody that was in the room on the Chiefs, my teammates definitely appreciated it. So and when you have, and what I would get all the time was when the game was over, the defensive coordinator or linebackers coach, somebody was like, "Hey man, Jason, I just want to let you know, man, how much I love your game." And I would know these guys, and they would come to me and come find me, and it was talk about the things that I would do. So to me, that was, that's just solidifying my thought and appreciation when I see the other people on the other side that you are going against. Always appreciated, the competitiveness and what you could do out there on the field. They understood my skill set and what I was able to do. And so I looked at that and I was like, I'm appreciate that, getting lauded that way. Because sometimes, hey, that's what some people's like, hey, when somebody said, well, yeah, Jason Dunn, we don't really know him because he didn't really catch a whole lot of footballs. Well, that don't take away from my effectiveness on the field and what I did, right? Because because I remember they were talking when the whole Cincinnati thing with Joe Burrows, and then I had all these fans jump on me like, well, who's Jason Dunn? This guy, this and blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's the guy that was in 70% of the offensive plays, who was folding up every defensive man that came in front of him, okay? Who didn't allow sacks on Trent Green from this guy, and was one of the best blockers in our time. That's who he is. So if you really want to look at the resume, look at what he did and what, he always had 1,000-yard rushers behind him, okay? You think that's correlating to everything out here. There's a reason, because this guy right here in front of him was plowing the holes to get these guys through there. So, y'all know it, man. That's why I like Chiefs fan, because I'm just like, look, everybody else don't have to know who I am, right? Everybody else had to know. You at the game, you see JD hold those guys up in the end zone. That's because JD was in the game and they got in the end zone.
Yep. Look, Jason, you may not have caught a lot of the passes, but you caught all the important ones. That's why I always quantify it. Like you see the highlight reels, it's always touchdowns. You're the guy putting the scores on the board, man. So no one can ever take that away from you. And just put it out there. It isn't just Chiefs fans that know who you are, man. Because every time we have you on the show, I get messages from people that are not Chiefs fans like, dude, you got Jason Dunn on your show? What the hell? What strings you pulling? So trust me, man. People know who the hell you are. We know who the hell you are, and we appreciate everything you do here, man. We love having you on, man.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you letting me come on and just talk, because I think you allow me to just go ahead and just speak what I want to say and get these things out, because it's just in my head. I think on my show a little bit, I'm just kind of like try to be measured in some things, but now I can like throw my thoughts out here. I'm just like, look, man, I'm just gonna let it be known all the way, okay?
Yeah, Jason, this is called the spoken for a reason. You can speak everything you want, man. We give you the platform.
Hey, look, man, I'm here with my brothers. You know what I'm saying? So hey, I'm good.
That's right.
All right. The only thing we don't really agree on is the Mac. You know what I'm saying? The mac and cheese. Only if it's good though, Lance. You got some good stuff for me, man. You gotta go there. So.
Well, whenever you're back in Kansas City, dude, they're going to have a big old platter of mac and cheese is waiting for you. It's going to say Jason Dunn's plate, do not touch. Eric Warfield can't touch it. Marcus Dash can't touch it. Tony Gonzalez can't. Travis Kelce is Jason Dunn's plate of mac. So feel special on that one, man.
Absolutely, bro.
Well, that is the 11-year veteran. Played with the Eagles, played a long time here with the Chiefs. We appreciate him. He is the co-host of Chief Concerns. Please go follow their work, guys. They have an incredible show. They have former Chiefs, former greats on there as well. They just had Sean Barber. They've had Priest Holmes. It's him, Eric Warfield, and Marcus Dash. They do an incredible show. I pay attention as much as I possibly can. They have a great show. We're big fans. We're big friends. We love these guys to death. My brother, Jason Dunn, thank you so much, my friend.
Appreciate it, Lance, my brother Eddie, Dred, man. Love you guys, man. I appreciate you guys, man, having me, man. Seriously, it's always a good time. Always a good time.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
That is our guy, Jason Dunn. Go follow him on Twitter. It's JASUSTD89. He's very interactive. He's not one of those dudes that big times people. He'll definitely interact with you. Hit him up on Twitter. He'll follow you guys. He'll give you guys whatever he's thinking as far as what's going on in the conversation. And like I said, they have one of the best shows. They love to cross promote. That's something we're big about. That's why we have these guys on, because they don't have too big of an ego. They like to promote everybody else as well, because there's plenty of room out there for us to eat. And he's definitely a guy out there, man, that represents the kingdom very, very well. Yep. And he's a good personal friend of mine, and I always appreciate his thoughts. And I love when he just goes on his spats, man, because he's always giving me something I didn't think about. Like every time he comes on the show, I always take something he says and I'll apply it to something I thought about, because I didn't think of it that way. And that's why I love having like a conversation. I don't like it to be, if I wanted to, I could just have this show just be me just running my mouth. Yeah. But I like hearing other people, because I want to make sure that I got it right. That I'm saying something that is accurate.
Those kind of conversations, like the best conversations on podcasts, especially, is when you forget the mics are there.
Yeah.
It's just having a real, authentic back and forth. And he was just having a little therapy in there. I mean, those are the best kind of conversations.
Like, I don't even need to say anything. That's why it's easy to have Jason on, because he'll just start going. He doesn't make me have to keep asking questions. I'll ask like 2 or 3 questions, and we get 30 minutes of conversation. It's beautiful like that. I just love listening to him say things.
Absolutely.
And, like I said, guys, the podcast they have, he said they might be a little bit more condensed with his responses, but it's still great. Him and Eric have great thoughts. I'm gonna have to get Eric back on the show. Eric Warfield, he did a great time. We had a great time with him when he was on the show too. And Marcus Dash, I gotta give a shout out to my dude Marcus Dash. He's always sending me love. He's always hit me on the Twitter sphere, man. Let me know how things are going, and he's always got my best interests in mind. So shout out to the whole concern crew, man. But I want to get, before we get to the Eddie Hour, I want to get right back to what I was saying real quick. I just had a question in regards to the money aspect you were talking about, Trevor, because you said you would rather have a guy that's on a contract, and I said,
more
then it's probably going to have to be Tyler Lockett or Brandon Cooks, and I know that would make our guy Jason Dunn very happy. So if I was to ask you, Trevor, would you be willing to pay these two guys this particular amount of money? I just want to get a yes or no from you real quick.
I mean, it wouldn't have to be one of those two. It could be DJ Moore, if that's possible,
right,
if he's even on the block.
So let's say DJ Moore's not available.
Yeah.
There's only
Tyler Lockett and Cooks would be the only two guys that are under contract.
Or these two names, okay? And they're on my list. Let's say you could get Terry McLaurin for a 4-year deal worth $20 million a year. Would you do it, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's about what DJ Moore is getting right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say you could get A.J. Brown for a 4-year deal worth $17.3 million a year. Would you do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. The reason why I ask those questions, because that's currently their market value. So I understand the contract year thing, and you're probably right. They're going to get more. I know what you're going to say. They're probably going to get more. It
reset this past offseason. So.
But this is up-to-date contract according to Spot Track. Sure. So A.J. Brown would probably end up getting A.J. Brown would probably get around $20 million.
Yeah.
And then McLaurin would probably get 22, 23. But if you're willing to take on them at 17 and 20, would the dividing line really be, okay, I can't give 19 to 20 or 23 to 24? Where would your dividing line be for those guys?
That $4 or $5 million is a big deal though too, because that's what axed the Tyreek deal, right? They ripped
only if it's guaranteed dollars.
True. That's why I like. I don't want to keep harping on DJ Moore, but that's why I like his contract, because it's only $41 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's only around $61 million total with the 4-year deal. That's a perfect ideal situation for. And I just think. I know that's what the market shows for those guys, and it is subject to change. Yeah. Obviously, after this past offseason with things being reset and maybe being the new norm, which is 28 to 30 million per year for elite receivers, which is crazy to me. That's a lot of money, man. That's quarterback money. But I just don't know if I'd want to take the risk on one of these guys coming over here, AJ Brown coming over here and thriving, having his best year, with a Chiefs jersey on, and then he demands $30 million next year. For his next contract, $30 million a year. I'm not paying anybody that. I don't think the Chiefs plan on paying anybody that, because we have to, one, protect Mahomes, pay Mahomes, and then pay guys on the other side to get after the opposing quarterbacks. That's most important to me. We can find guys on better deals, guys that'll come in, maybe rookies too. I know Jason Dunn was talking about the unknowns of rookies, but also you got to take those risks.
Yeah.
Right? Because players like Justin Jefferson, and the Tyler Lockets came in as rookies, you know what I mean? So you got to take those risks too. Yeah. So we got to draft a receiver, regardless of what anyone thinks. That's got to happen, whether it's first or second, third round, whatever. We'll find somebody. But I understand the logic on both sides. Like the way I see it, I think those guys are going to demand more than what Spot Track is saying right now. I just think that's because I think things have reset in the dynamic of the off. Because all those guys should require, and their agents are going to want to get them their bag. You know what I mean? Because these are prove-it years for those guys. These guys are all worth it, too. These guys are all worth that big money.
Well, after Christian Kirk, I feel like we don't really know what a market value is. Because he's getting $17.5 million a year, and he's maybe a top 50.
And all those guys we all know are far better than him, and they're not going to take anything less. So $20 million. I think $20 million is the bare minimum at this point.
What did you think about Jason Dunn's thoughts on Josh Gordon? Because
you know my love for Josh Gordon. Yes. I was stoked when we signed him last year, and I didn't really expect him to be like a guy. Right. I was thinking long term. Yeah. I was thinking the next 2-3 years. Okay. And I really wanted him strictly just for red zone prowess. His size, his speed. We saw it in the red zone when we finally got him that touchdown. Like you said, that was a sentimental moment. Like we have all been fans of him, what he's gone through with his life with the stupid-ass marijuana restrictions and stuff that he's gone through. He never should have lost the years in the NFL that he lost because of marijuana. Yeah. Granted, he had mental illness things going on. He's fought through it, and Andy Reid is the perfect guy for him to come land with. So this a lot of things. It's been a decade, man, since he's had a really good year almost. So, and he's only 30. That's prime years really for most elite talent receivers. 27 and 30, like that 3-year window is like that's the years where those guys thrive. So this could be a big year. I just want to see him. Really, I'm excited to see him in the red zone packages. I don't need him to have 1,100 yards, but if he can go get 10 touchdowns this year, oh my God, bro, that's a dub. That's a win right there. So that's all I really want him for in the red zone. Get Josh Gordon up there and throw a ball up his way. He's gonna go get up and get it over any corner. I don't care who it is. He's still an elite. Like even when Tyron is here, he's like, yeah, it looks like Megatron out there because he's a big, dominating presence in the red zone. So I can even see him running some like tight end packages. Similar to like having him and Kelsey in the field at the same time is, then getting Jody Fortson back out there. That's some towering guys right there. So I have a deep love for Josh Gordon just because I've always liked the talent that he is and what he is when he's on the field and healthy. Do I think he's going to be anything special in this offense moving forward? Probably not, but I think he could go out there and be a definite touchdown threat. That's what I need him to be. I don't think he's ever going to be like an every down guy. Yeah. He's never going to be like a wide receiver 2 or 3. He's going to be a wide receiver 4 or 5 that's going to be rotating into certain packages, which I think will be extremely effective for him in his particular skill set. So I love Josh Gordon. I love the person. I love who he is. I love his skill set. I don't think he's going to be a replacement for a guy we're looking for long term. Yeah. Absolutely not. I would love to see that, but I just don't think that's the case. But I do think we kept him here for a reason. I think we brought him back here for a reason. We're not going to bring him back here just to be a guy that's on this roster for no reason. He's going to be utilized, and I expect to see him a lot in the red zone packages. I really do. I think he's going to be utilized. When we saw that, that's when he scored. Yeah. It was on the 1 yard line, So I think his size, speed, and strength is going to be utilized in packages like that.
All right. Fair enough. Let's get to the Eddie. I've been waiting for this all damn day, man.
Oh shit!
What have we been doing here? Just holding up the fort.
Shit, I'm sorry to disappoint.
2 hours in.
I ain't got shit today. No. So before the podcast kicked off, you asked me if I had questions about March Madness, and I didn't because I totally forgot it was on.
How dare you?
I'm not a big college basketball guy, so I don't pay attention to that. Other than you guys telling me, but. We do have the Final Four today. Here in a couple hours, we have KU playing Villanova, and then we have University of North Carolina playing Duke, which is, I believe, their first matchup in the tournament ever, if I'm not mistaken.
And their 100th game against each other.
And Coach K is 50 and 49 or something like that against.
This is their 100th game, and it happens to be the only time they've faced in the tournament. How freaking wild is that?
So I want to get your thoughts on how all of March Madness has gone leading up to today. What do you think KU is going to do out there today? What are your predictions and all that stuff?
I will say this, first of all. When it comes to college basketball, this season has been a redemption story for college basketball because college basketball has taken a massive backseat to other sports. College basketball, me growing up here in Kansas, was huge. Yeah. Kansas is the mecca of college basketball. This is where it all started. And I'm talking about basketball, period. Yeah. It started here a couple hundred years ago. So this season has been very redemptive for a lot of college fans because we're also ironically getting a set of blue bloods the OGs, if you will,
Three of them.
in the Final Four. Three of them. And Villanova is becoming a blue
Pretty much,
blood.
yeah.
Jay Wright has made that. Yeah, Jay Wright
UCLA
has
could
put
go take
them-
a seat. Villanova's here. UCLA has no shit.
And this is really cool for a lot of reasons. Me as a Jayhawk fan, admittedly, for this particular reason. Going into this season, I was very excited about this team, even though they did not have a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
Obviously, people expect them to be in the tournament because they are every single year. They've been for 32 straight years, essentially since I've been alive. And Bill Self is one of the, if not the greatest coach in basketball right now. He's one of them. I was excited about this year because, just from a Jayhawk standpoint, because I love these types of teams for Bill Self. Because when he doesn't have these one and dones, they always go further in the tournament because he has guys that are extremely coachable and don't have the NBA set on their minds.
They run his system.
Even OJ Abaji, yes, a guy that has NBA aspirations, came back this year to better his game. So his game was what mattered to him the most, of getting better as a player and working himself back into this system. You have guys, experienced veterans like Mitch Lightfoot that are on this team, Christian Brown that are on this team. And this team clicked. And I said before the tournament even began, this team's going to the Final Four. Yeah. I truly believe that because they had a great, very favorable bracket. The Midwest region was super easy for them. The best teams in the bracket lost before they even had to face them. So there was no excuses for the Jayhawks not to get there. And now that they're there and the challenges really start to begin, Miami was that first real challenge. That was a team that matched up great with KU. And KU ran them off the floor.
Yeah.
Beat them by 26 points.
The
first half was tough. I think KU kind of felt them out, and then you saw what they did. Villanova deserves to be here too because Jay Wright's one of the best coaches in college, and they had a really good starting five.
They've been our kryptonite.
They lost more.
Yeah.
Their best scorer. Now they are by far the thinnest team left, and I think that the Jayhawks are going to beat them. I think they're going to beat them tonight. All respect to them. I appreciate what Villanova's done this year. This ain't the same team that's won two of the last three national championships, so I think KU's going to take care of business tonight. When it comes to Duke and North Carolina, which is the more intriguing matchup of this one, history, like you said, Eddie, 50-49. That is the greatest rivalry in sports, if you ask me, outside of like the Red Sox-Yankees. This is the biggest rivalry because it's lasted for 30-plus years. Just this insane, hated rivalry, and it's so even. 50-49 in their 99 matchups. Are you kidding me? And Duke having its last curtain call, its crescendo with Coach K. This could potentially be his last game, and how poetic would it be if it was his final game to take a loss to North Carolina and it ends at 50-50? How wild that'd be. I'm taking North Carolina in this game. And the reason why is because I think they're the better team. Yeah. They're the hotter team. They're a team that gets a lot of second chance points. They may not be the better coach team because I think Hubert Davis is really good. He's got a lot of proving to do. But Coach K is arguably the GOAT. And I don't think this game's going to come down to coaching. I think this is going to come down to second chance points and turnovers. And I think North Carolina's been the better team in the tournament. And quite frankly, they're in Duke's heads. Because the final game of Coach K's career at Cameron Indoor Stadium, North Carolina beat their ass. That wasn't even a game. They owned them the whole time. So I think the pressure is going to finally start to mount on Duke. And I think North Carolina is going to go in there feeling very confident about themselves because they've already beaten this team. Had Duke beaten them in Cameron Indoor that final game, I'd pick Duke in this one because I'm like, man, they got the mental advantage. I just don't feel it. No, I think North Carolina is going to win this game. I think we're going to have a Kansas versus North Carolina matchup in the championship game. What do you think, Trev?
Yeah, so as far as the Villanova-Kansas game goes, I'm nervous, man. I'm not going to lie. Villanova makes me nervous. They're a good team. They're a talented team. This is going to be a tough matchup. I think it's going to be one of those hard-fought games all the way through. I do think Kansas wins, but I think narrowly. I think I like this matchup a lot. It's going to be a tough, gritty one. But I do, like you said, this team is a unit. This KU team is a unit. There's no star player, really. I know Ochai's kind of been like the lead man. But it's like a bunch of really, really good role players that all play their role really well, and you don't really know at night in, night out who's really going to, especially since the tournament started, who's really going to step up. Remy Martin's had his games. Ochai's hasn't really had a big game yet, so this could be that moment. But this team goes on runs, and they get everyone involved. They play a great defense. They play great defense as a unit. Bill Self has these guys clicking on all cylinders. They all, play into. They're all bought into him and his scheme and the way he plays, the way he coaches. This is like through and through a true Bill Self team. This is all effort guys, all guys that listen to Coach Lightfoot, the guy that's been here for years, knows Coach. He's been a massive role player for this team defensively and on the boards and second chance points. Having all those guys, bought in and playing great as a collective is what March Madness is all about. I know there's star players that come out of March Madness and but there's a lot of times where star players don't make it far into the tournament. They end up being the star players in the NBA. But a lot of the teams that make it deep into this tournament are great teams, not teams. It's very different than the NBA. The star player can take you very far in the NBA just because the star players in the NBA are very rare talents. So I think this Kansas team is just the best overall team left in the tournament. Obviously, they're the number 1 seed here for a reason. And I think KU comes out on top, and I think it's going to be a hard-fought game, and we're going to kind of be white-knuckling it for the majority of it. But I think Kansas comes out on top, but narrowly. And this Duke North Carolina game is the one, man, that everyone's the history here. With Coach K as being his last rodeo. I think I'm a big, and I preach this on this podcast all the time. I'm a big believer in sports and momentum, and bullet board material. For extra motivation for players and coaches, but specifically young players like this in college, man. This is such a passionate time of year with these young guys trying to make a name for themselves and trying to find success, because a lot of these guys aren't going to make it to the pros. This is kind of their big moment here, and the motivation behind this being it for Coach K. Arguably the most legendary, arguably one of the most legendary coaches in sports history, let alone just college basketball. Everyone knows who Coach K is, man. So I think the momentum rides. It continues to ride here for Duke. I think they beat North Carolina. I do think North Carolina is the more talented team, but I think motivation and hard work and effort can sometimes outlast the more talented teams. And I think that's what happens here. I think Duke wins. I think Duke wins by more than 10 points. Wow. I think Duke has a good run here. I think they closed the game out really strong. I think the internal motivation for these players to want to really do it for Coach is a big factor here, and it's been showing. These guys have been playing their hearts out, and I don't think that stops here. And I think they have a lot more to prove here against North Carolina, I think a lot of people have been picking North Carolina for good reason. If they win, I'm not going to be surprised at all. I'm choosing the extra juice of motivation for Coach K, and I think that's what puts them over the top here tonight.
All right, let's go to MLB. So the Major League Baseball released the top 100 ranking, but I want to focus on the top 10, and I want to get your thoughts and see if you agree with this list, or would you change anybody? Would you put anybody else, like, let's say, would you put a number 10 at number 3 or stuff like that? So I'm going to read you the top 10 list. At number 10, they have Ronald Acuna Jr., Number 9, they have Freddie Freeman. Number 8, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Number 7, Jacob deGrom. Number 6, Mookie Betts. Number 5, Bryce Harper. Number 4, Juan Soto. Number 3, Fernando Tatis. Number 2, Mike Trout. And number 1, Shohei Ohtani. Do you agree with this list? Or?
I don't. First of all, I don't like the premise. I don't like... Baseball is a different sport. You can't put the pitchers and position players in the same like top whatever the number is. If you were to do like a top 10 pitchers list, okay, but I can't have deGrom in the same category as Mike Trout. The only guy that's an exception is Shohei, and I don't think. Look, Shohei is the most unique player in the game. Yeah, but do I think he's the best overall player in baseball? I have a hard time believing that. That's not a knock on him. That's just I don't know if it's sustainable what he's doing, and what they're putting him as, or why they're putting him at the top is because they're hoping that what he can do is sustainable, and I don't think it is. I think he's going to have to pick and choose which one is going to be him, pitcher or hitter. So I respect the list, and I think they took the 10 most, like the 10 best names in baseball. I definitely think that, but it's hard for me to sign off on a list. Let's say it was just positional players. That Ronald Acuna would be, if you took away the pitchers in that list, he'd be the 8th best player. I have a hard time believing that. Ronald Acuna is a top 5 player in this league, position-wise. Freddie Freeman not being in the top 5 is hard for me to accept as well. Bryce Harper, I love him. I don't think he's a top 5 player in baseball. Yeah. I don't. I think he's a top 10 player, but his problem with is he strikes out a lot, he grounds out a lot. His batting average is pretty bad, and he's only had one season, I think, of 100 RBIs. So it's really hard for me to put him in my top 5. I don't think he's a significantly better player than anybody that was named before him. So I don't agree with this list. I could comprise my own, and I could put it together and maybe put it on the spoken, but I wouldn't have position players and pitchers on the same list. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, can I say I don't care? No. Look, I think Mike Trout and Tatis are about the top 2 for me. I think they're the most. I think for what they do and the impact in the game that they provide, their skill sets. Those to me. But baseball is a different sport. It's not like I wouldn't even consider it a star-driven sport because they don't market their star players that way. They just don't, and it's not a top list for best players. MLB is just kind of like you can just mix up the names however you want. And I don't think anyone really. It's not like the NFL. It's not even in the NFL. You got to go by position. You know what I mean? So I think it should be the same approach for baseball, mixing in pitchers with hitters and DHs and third basemen. It's just kind of like you should just go by position. Who's the best at each position? That's because it's a position game. Basketball is more of a positionless sport at this point, so it's easy to identify who the stars are. You can talk about who's better, Jokic or Steph Curry. You know what I mean?
And that's fair.
And they're 2 totally different positions on the opposite parts of the game. One's a center, one's a point guard. You know what I mean? So you can do that in basketball because stars, that's how it's built. It's marketed around them. They're all versatile players. It's pretty much become a positionless, a fluid game. So baseball, it's weird with lists like that with baseball. Like, no one's asking who's better, Christian McCaffrey or Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they both are very impactful players and both are incredible at what they do. But one's far more important to their team than the other.
I will tell you a guy that's going to be on that list very shortly is Bobby Witt Jr. I really hope everybody's ready for that.
He's going to,
I really hope that the Royals are also thinking about paying him early.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be a guy they're going to want to keep around for a long time.
Talk about marketability.
Yeah. So Bobby Witt will be on that list soon enough.
I just wish the MLB, because the MLB is flooded with great personalities. You know, I mean, and in the past and in the future and the present, like there's been so many great guys with great mouthpieces and good trash talkers and guys that are so marketable. They really need to lean into that more. That's the move the MLB really has to make. If they want to have these lists be a fun topic for fans to talk about and actually mean something and, argue about and, have back and forths about, market the guys, like a lot of these, like you can go down the top 100 list and a lot of people aren't going to know who these guys are because they don't market them, unless you're talking about like people in those cities of those teams, they'll know who they are, but like nationally, internationally, not a lot of people are going to know a lot of these baseball players. So, but either way, it doesn't really matter. I'm not a biggest baseball guy, but like a lot of the guys I think that sport's hurting because they don't market their players properly and let their personalities shine. But the baseball is still very much a position game. So, going by position and seeing who's the best at each position is the best way to go. But as far as like a top 100 list and comparing pitchers to, DHs and things like that, it's just kind of a nonsensical type of thing in my mind personally.
All right. So, next question. What does Bobby Wagner add to the Rams defense that they don't already have?
Everything that they needed in the middle of the field. Reason being, Bobby Wagner is not just a nice acquisition. He's an all-time great linebacker that they're getting. And I found it funny. I actually posted about this on the Spoken this week that I was listening to radio when the news broke, and I heard a lot of different personalities and names out there that were trying to downplay it because of his age. I found that really funny because, he'll be 32 this year. But as I was stating about why I would love to see Kansas City entertain the idea of kicking the tires on Bobby Wagner coming here is the fact that the man has only missed 5 games in his entire career. And he's been playing since 2014. And for 2013 actually, but for 10 years, this guy was almost an All-Pro every single year. And he's been an All-Pro in 5 of his last 6 seasons. The Rams, what they're getting is a profound piece because they lost Von Miller, 2 different positions. But you're now facilitating the middle of the field, and they know that their division is going to require a lot of middle of the field plays because Trey Lance is going to get the ball out to intermediate passes. Jimmy Garoppolo plays that quick style. If he was to ever stay, he's not going to stay, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, same thing. Smaller, undersized quarterback that's going to have to utilize the middle of the field. Bobby Wagner takes that away because he's also insanely good in pass coverage. So what they're getting is everything they needed, and they're retooling because the Rams are a team that everybody needs to be fearing. I'm not making my prediction yet, But, everyone's talking about Tom Brady coming back for the Bucs and how that's going to make them the favorites. It is a thin NFC. But the Rams are 3-0 against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers since he came to Tampa Bay. And they just got significantly better.
Yep.
And they're one left tackle away from being the prohibitive favorites out of the NFC. In fact, they're probably still the NFC favorites right now. And if they're not, I think the 49ers are. Because the 49ers have been to 3 of the last 4 NFC championships, and they're going to upgrade at quarterback this year. So,
maybe.
Losing Von Miller it sucks for them. But adding Bobby Wagner takes away a lot of the deficiencies they had because they didn't have great middle linebacker play last season. Now they do. Yeah. And having Aaron Donald and him right in the same area of the field is going to be a real fun thing. The Rams absolutely knocked it out of the park. I know, like I said, people are concerned about his age and how much money they're giving him. This dude's going to be on the field every year or every game, every week. And he had career highs in tackles last year at age 30, 31. What do you think he's going to do this next year when he has that much more talent around him? Seahawks, outside of Jamal Adams, have had a terrible defense for about 3 years now. And Bobby Wagner's been carrying it. KJ Wright was good. Yeah. But, what I'm saying is they didn't have a great nucleus. He's got Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald and Leonard and these other guys around him on this defensive side. Yeah. He definitely packed a punch for this defense.
Yeah, the Rams just got better. Like they just simply got better. I think he's better than Von Miller at this point of their careers. I think that's obvious. I know Von Miller does different things. His skill set's different. He's more a get after the quarterback kind of guy. But Bobby Wagner is a guy I wanted the Chiefs to really go get. We were hearing he was wanting a 1-year deal, and then he got this 4-year deal. I'm happy for him, man. He couldn't have landed. I think the 2 best spots were Kansas City and LA, and he's an LA native, I believe, right? So I think he's going home. It's a perfect situation for him, man. The Rams. I'll just say it now. The Rams are already my favorite out of the NFC. Again, they were my favorite last year to go to the Super Bowl, and I called that. I'm saying that they're going to go. They're the best team in the NFC right now. So I don't see why they shouldn't repeat as the favorite to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. His skill set was something they were missing last year. A proven multi-Pro Bowl player, Hall of Fame talent, guy that's going to be great in coverage, has the smarts, knows how to read quarterbacks, plays their eyes really well. Has the instincts, all the instincts you want out of a middle linebacker, all-time guy. I really wanted that for this team. I wanted that, with Bolton and Willie Gay. But I'm happy for him, man. LA's a great spot. That's a good team. That roster is loaded once again. So he's a great piece to that puzzle they got going on over there. It's a damn near complete team at every position. So. Yeah, that's going to be a dangerous team, man. He's going to be a great addition. They just got that much better. So,
with the Dolphins paying their cornerback over $50 million, are you glad Veach doesn't overspend on that position?
Couldn't be happier. Look,
crazy.
Xavier Howard is awesome. Awesome. He is not worth that money. I am so sorry to tell anybody that thinks differently or feels differently. Well, Jalen Ramsey is the only one that I would entertain that because he's historically great. That's the only guy, and he was 25 when he got the deal.
He's getting his ass burnt in this postseason, bro.
True, I agree. I'm just saying that to answer the question, I wouldn't pay that to anybody. Jalen Ramsey is the only guy I'd be like,
nah, man.
You know what I mean? The Chiefs were talking about trading multiple first-round picks to get Jalen Ramsey. Yeah. So obviously the Chiefs felt the same way I do. The point is, when it comes to Xavier Howard or any of these Bradbury, any of these other good corners out there, J.C. Jackson,
I'm on the clock.
I'm not spending the money, dude. Yeah. So, and the Chiefs, I echo their sentiments because I remember back when Marcus Peters was here, I was of the belief back then that you just pay him money, you keep him, it's stupid to lose him. Going back now, it's like I didn't like the trade for what the Chiefs got in return still to this day, but I would have rather have traded Marcus Peters than to pay him $60, $70 million to get burnt 2-3 times a game, but hoping he gets a big interception. Same with guys like Xavier Howard. He'll lock you down, but is he winning you games? That's the question you have to ask. Cornerbacks are a complementary piece to any defense. They're not the pivotal piece. Yep. You don't build your defenses around cornerbacks. That's not how you do it, because even to Jalen Ramsey, their defense is structured around who? Aaron Donald, not Jalen Ramsey. He's a complementary piece. Now, he's an all-time great complementary piece, but he's not what their end-all, be-all is.
Yeah, he's a playmaker. He's a playmaker for sure.
You don't spend $50 to $70 million on these guys like J.C. Jackson. He's going to help the Chargers, but he's not going to give them $50 to $70 million in return a football play. He's not going to give them $50 to $70 million of wins back. He's going to be good. He's going to make things challenging, but he's not going to decide games for the Chargers. Yeah. Same with Xavier Howard. He's been here for 3 years. How have the Dolphins done? Oh, that's right. They haven't made the playoffs in that span. That's where I stand on it. I'm so glad Brett Veach has that mentality because it changed my mentality as it used to think about paying corners. I don't pay corners now. I take him in the 4th round, get a L'Jarius Sneed. I trade a backup center to go get a Charvarius Ward. That's how I spend money at the cornerback position.
I get it. You can make your arguments for the stuff on Gilmore's making the game, Super Bowl saving plays and things like that, and being big, arguably MVPs in the Super Bowl. We've had big moments from big time playmakers in that position, but you do not make those guys your centerpiece. Y'all are at the Gucci store shopping for corners. I'm at the clearance rack at TJ Maxx. I'm bargain shopping for these guys. I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not spending that much money is insane. After what they just gave Tyreek on top of that, they're going to be in debt here soon, and they're not even a good franchise. Like, cool. This is what I was talking about with the Tyreek Hill move. I'm glad we didn't pay him that money because bad teams always overpay for good players. There's a lot of great players that have been stuck on terrible. I mean, Matt Stafford was stuck, had a huge extension with Detroit. Stuck in Detroit, though. He ain't going to win nothing. Like, we all knew this. He was great. He's always been great. And then he immediately leaves. He's still getting paid handsomely. And then he goes and wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
Has maybe the greatest postseason we've ever seen a quarterback have.
Yeah, so which would you rather be, Stafford in Detroit or Stafford in L.A.? I'm taking L.A. Stafford. That's how I look at it. And I would rather overspend on guys to get after the quarterback than guys that benefit from guys that get after the quarterback. You know what I mean? So that's the least of my worries. And honestly, most of the time, outside of obviously separate generational talents like the Ramseys, the guys that are willing to sacrifice their body to make plays and will make plays, get interceptions, the Trayvon Diggs of the world who are just a ball hawk, the Marcus Peters, guys that make plays, like those are good guys to have in your team. But most of the time, it's schematic.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it is schematic on the success of your corners. Charvarius Ward wouldn't have done what he did these past couple of years on any other team.
And to your point about Charvarius Ward, I'm glad you just said it because I was going to say this right after you were done.
Yeah.
Would you? Chiefs fans are the most loyal fans I know. But I would have a hard time believing that Chiefs fans would be more upset about what just happened with Charvarius Ward leaving and someone else overspending on him than him staying and we overspend on him here in Kansas City. I would have a hard time believing we'd be more upset about what actually happened than what could have happened because Trevor, you're right. And I think all of us are starting to know this now with the tendencies of Brett Veach and how he spends money. Is the fact that Charvarius Ward wasn't in Kansas City worth the $40+ million he just made. He's not.
Nope.
Because of why, Trevor? He's not even a cornerback one to begin with.
We gave him the glow up. We said, "Oh, you're beautiful now. Go get paid."
And we're happy he made his money. I'm happy that Xavier Howard got his money.
Yep.
But I'm not paying that money. Someone else, Trevor said,
bro.
Bad teams overspend on these guys. The Dolphins are a bad team at this current time. Yeah. They lost Brian Flores. They bring in Mike McDaniels. Okay, great. We'll see what he does. Tua Tagovailoa is a bottom 10 quarterback in this league. So it's a desperation act for them to do this because they feel that's...
It puts asses in the seats.
And they feel that that's the way they can win
sure.
games. Chiefs, teams like that, you look at teams with great quarterback play. Because even when Jalen Ramsey went to the Rams and they spent all all those draft assets, they didn't have Matt Stafford yet. They had Jared Goff.
Yep.
So they were making up for what they had at quarterback, which is the most important position. So even teams that win with quarterback and quarterbacks they're trading for and spending money on, look at who their quarterback is. It's math. None of these teams with great quarterbacks are overspending. Look at the Buccaneers.
Yep.
They've had Tom Brady. Their quarterbacks are atrocious. They went and got Richard Sherman for nothing. And he was terrible for them. So that's my point is that even the names, look at who is spending on those positions, and then you tell me how it's working out for them. Trevor, you're 100% right.
Yeah. And Devontae Parker just got traded to the
Patriots. Now the Patriots have a bunch of nobodies. Like Devontae Parker's their best receiver.
For a 4th round pick. That's a good deal, honestly.
And they got Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry.
Bunch of nobody.
Yeah. And Devontae Parker's your best receiver. You don't have good receivers.
They have some good tight ends. They got Hunter Henry and...
who's always hurt. He had a good season
Jonnu Smith.
last year.
I like Jonnu Smith a lot.
Yeah. Overall, I guess it's...
They'll probably win 8 or 9 games next year.
God, I can't wait for September, man.
Yeah. This is going to be a fun question for Trev. What can the Packers do to help Rodgers at wide receiver?
You know what's weird is... I actually think that, and we all know that Rodgers is back because he's getting paid money. He got a ton of money in return, $50 million a year. I'm actually interested to see what Rodgers is going to do with an unproven room of wide receivers because I actually think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to draft some wide receivers, sure. But I think as it's currently constructed with Randall Cobb and who's their second receiver right now? I don't even know his name, but he's
Lazard.
Alan Lazard, thank you.
I like. He's good.
I think those are going to be his like premier receivers going into the season
St.
with
Brown,
the drafted.
St. Brown, Lazard.
Yeah, with the drafted receiver, probably in the first round, they're going to probably trade up because they're right before the Chiefs are.
They're gonna draft somebody.
Yeah, I'm actually interested to see what Rodgers does. I don't think they're going to do much. I think that the Packers have shown time and time again over the last 30 years they are an ultra-conservative team. They don't spend in free agency. They don't go and trade for big names often. I think that's what they have right now. And if Rodgers can go out there and have an MVP-esque season and get them back in the playoffs, win their division, maybe even potentially go back to the NFC Championship, that's going to help his legacy massively because right now, his legacy is taking L's.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about the off-field stuff.
That's true.
They're 7-9 in the playoffs since they won their Super Bowl in 2011 or 2010,
It's
2011.
unacceptable.
So if he goes back and wins a couple playoff games with this guy, this only further proves what the Chiefs just did. If they go further into the playoffs or have just as good of a playoff run without Devontae Adams, and Rodgers throws for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns without Devontae Adams, the Chiefs feel even better about moving off of Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he does with this current roster, this current wide receiver depth chart, because I think this is what they're going to have outside of maybe a drafted guy. And who's to say? Maybe they draft a guy and they go and get themselves an absolute stud. And then Aaron Rodgers just benefited off losing Devontae Adams for a much younger, cheaper guy that's actually going to give them adequate, maybe almost comparable contribution and production.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think this is going to be one of those seasons where I think his numbers are going to be fine. Aaron Rodgers always finds a way to get production. His touchdown to interception ratio is going to be insane once again because he's a pinpoint accurate guy that makes great decisions on most nights. So he's going to get his numbers. He's going to have his touchdowns. I mean, he's got a good O-line. That's a good defense. I think the running backs are probably going to catch 100-plus receptions this year. Aaron Jones, well, they lost. I think they lost. Oh, no, they still have A.J. Dillon, I think. Or did he get moved? I don't remember. Either way, they have good running backs. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best decision makers of all time. He's going to find ways to score points. I think I do like Allen Lazard, and he has a really good chemistry with Allen Lazard when they've had their moments together.
A.J. Dillon is on the team still.
Okay, so they have solid running backs. A.J. Dillon's a monster, stud. Both guys, obviously Aaron Jones can catch the ball, the best of them. He's one of the better receiving running backs in the league, and he's dynamic with the ball in his hands. So I think this offense is going to be good. I think this defense is sneaky, though. I think this defense is going to be even better this next season. They were good, but they lost some pieces. They had some guys in and out this past year. There's a lot to prove for Aaron Rodgers, though. I agree with you. In the postseason, it's way too many. The failures have been adding up and stacking up over the last few years, and it's unacceptable, man. The way they lost that game this past postseason was unacceptable. Aaron Rodgers just could not get it going. I know the weather was shitty, it was windy, but both teams had a play in that, and you lost. And you're the team that's not on the West Coast. You're the team that should be used to that cold weather. That was so hard for me to watch, man. I was just very, very upset with my guy. To see that, and with Devontae Adams on that team, and he still failed, man. He should have won. They were the better team. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting year. I will be watching closely. I watch most Packers games every week. If it's not the Chiefs on, it's the Packers on. I like watching my guy Aaron Rodgers ball out. I expect him to have a good year. He finds ways to get production out of whatever name is on the jersey. He's going to find ways to get production out of those guys. I mean, listen, there's not going to be any names of note on this offense. I do believe they drafted a receiver within their first couple picks. I think that defense is solid, so they are going to focus on getting some weapons for Aaron Rodgers. But I think Allen Lazard is probably going to be the leading receiver this year, as it looks right now. St. Brown is a good young player, too. They have another guy, too. I can't remember his name, but he was Winfield or something like that. I think is his name. I can't remember. But, yeah, he likes the tight ends in the red zone. He's going to get his touchdowns because he's one of the quarterbacks that throws in the red zone more than anybody. So I think I expect a big year from Aaron Jones catching a lot of balls, A.J. Dillon catching a lot of balls, and them being a very run-centric offense, but not just running it, but getting the ball just to the running backs. I'm not worried about it. He's always had his numbers every year. No matter who he's throwing to, Aaron Rodgers is always going to get his numbers. His production is going to be there. It's just who's really going to be catching the balls. And having that vacancy at wide receiver with arguably the best receiver in football gone now, not having that safety blanket that was getting 14 to 17 to 20 targets a game, which is outrageous. The highest target share in the NFL is now gone. So he's going to be spreading the ball out a little bit more. But I expect Aaron Rodgers always to make the right decisions, man. He's just a generational talent type of guy. It's just when come postseason time, what are you going to do, buddy? You got to go win some games. You got to add to that resume.
That is the question we're all asking.
He's near and dear to my heart, man. But it is what it is. Facts are the facts. They're there. I can't deny him. He's got to be better. But during the regular season, the Packers are going to be one of the best teams in the NFC. Don't even worry about that. No matter who he's throwing to, that's just because the impact of him. So it's going to be weird though. It's going to be weird not seeing Devontae out there.
All right, next question. Lakers are 3 games back from the play-in game. There are only 5 games left. Should the Lakers just rest LeBron and AD the rest of the season and focus on next year?
No, I don't think this isn't a time to rest, because I think that there's still technically something to play for the Lakers, even though they're not winning games. If they were eliminated, I think it's time to start shutting some stuff down. But I think also, if we're being honest here, I think that LeBron's playing for something else. I think he's playing to get as close as possible to the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar all-time scoring record before next season, to make it that much easier for him next season, so where he's not as focused on it. He's about 1,100-ish points away right now, 1,200 or so points away right now. He gets that down to about 1,000. He's going to get that averaging 21 points a game next season. He's going to average 21 points a game per game next season.
30 this year.
Right. So,
31
and I think
right
he's
now.
also wanting to win the scoring title in year 19, because that's something no one's ever come close to at this point of their career. So, I think that there's things that LeBron's still very much playing for. AD, at this point, I don't know what he's really playing for, because I think that at this time it's been a complete waste of a season for him. I told Trevor before the show, it's like, the dude misses over 70 games in the last 2 seasons, and none of them were due to significant injuries. They were due to like ankle sprains and shoulder problems. Just constant injuries. And it's just, I think the best way the Lakers can move on from this season, because I know that wasn't the question you asked, but I know it's going to be the question we continue to ask throughout this next offseason. How do the Lakers get better? I think obviously Russell Westbrook getting out of that business, which they will. They'll get out of that 1 year left on his deal. They'll get out of that with some other team that's willing to take it on. I think it's really considering trading Anthony Davis. LeBron James has shown this year that he can still do enough to help you win a title. That's not even a debate. And he's not going to be – I don't think he's going to be a horrific player next season. There's this massive drop-off. I don't think that's happening. So I think they need to try to trade Anthony Davis for either a bunch of good role players or try to target up another target like a Damian Lillard, who could finally open up his eyes and see that his career is coming to a close within the next few years if he really wants to win and not be a foolish person and sticking with a team that is not dedicated to building him a winner. Then I think that there can be something done with
He's
that.
From California. It makes a lot of sense.
There's going to be a lot of change for this Lakers team moving forward, but I think that, yes, I think the Lakers are still going to have LeBron and AD play for the rest of the season, see if it pans out. And LeBron for himself is not going to be a guy that shuts it down if he knows there's a chance for him to still make the playoffs. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, they're going to play it out. I mean, AD looked good. I watched the game last night. They just can't beat the Pelicans. And that Pelicans team is better than people give them credit for.
Thanks to the Lakers.
well, the addition to McCollum in that trade, McCollum's been thriving on that team right now. And they just got what's his name, Low Eyes back. So they're done this year. They're just not winning as a team. They don't have much of an identity outside of LeBron. Creating things and making things happen. There's just AD looked pretty good last night, but they're just not a good team right now. There's been too much inconsistency with players on the floor. They never found a true rotation. There's always a different rotation. There's just a lot of bodies that are in and out, and it's just not enough. This team is just not good enough. LeBron has been playing great basketball this year. It's just undeniable. He's been shooting great. He's been extremely efficient, leading the league in points. Doing everything he can. I've watched a lot of Lakers games. LeBron is doing everything he can, man. There's only so much one guy can do. It's just not a good roster, especially AD being gone most of the year pretty much. It's just not a good roster without, his psychic. It's just tough. And at the age he's at, too, he's doing a lot. He's carrying a lot of the load, and they're just not a good team. They just cannot close games. They had the lead most of that game last night, and they couldn't close it out. And McCollum hits some big shots. Ingram hits some big shots. And it's just they just couldn't recover from it. So, and Russ has been just a tragic addition to this team. Honestly, it's just been bad. He's out there getting upset with rookies on the opposition team and letting these rookies get in his head. It's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. We've seen flashes of Russ play well this year, but he's getting in scuffles and arguments with guys on the bench of other teams that are rookies or two-year players. Bro, these guys look up to you, and you're out here getting in, like argument. It's just embarrassing seeing what Russ has become, honestly. And I love Russ, I really do. I love his passion. I love passionate players. I love Boogie Cousins. I love guys like that. But it's just you gotta be able to put it on the floor too, bro. You can't be airballing 3 shots, 4 shots a game. It's just embarrassing. So this team's done. I do think AD and LeBron finish out the year playing through most of the games. And see what happens. But the way I see it right now, they're done. Play it out. LeBron just needs work on getting that record, and that'd be the biggest milestone of his career, getting that. So, I expect them both to play through this season, but the chances of the playoffs are pretty much damn near gone at this point.
This is their final 5 games.
It's a tough stretch.
They got to play the Nuggets, the Suns, the Warriors, Thunder, and then the Nuggets again.
Yep.
They pretty much have to go 5-0 in this.
This is all I'll say.
And they need the Spurs to lose damn near all their lists.
This is all I'll say,
Pelicans.
though. When it comes to the Nuggets in particular, I don't think the Nuggets can really move up or down right now in the seedings. So maybe the Nuggets start resting some players, and then the Lakers capitalize on that. That's the only thing I have as far as hope is concerned for the Lakers. But yes, this season has been a slow, agonizing and terrifying and just exhausting death.
I thought they would too, man. But after last night, I was like, they just can't close games.
But see, you were accepting it in December. He wasn't.
I wasn't.
Well, LeBron's been incredible this year, man.
It's a wasted season, man.
Yeah, this roster is bad.
But you at least acknowledged it early November. Starting December, you were like, okay, yeah. And then he was still more... And
the latest AD injury was just like, okay, damn it, dude. Like, this is not much.
He was still more like that.
He suffered the injury, in February, early February?
Yeah. I mean, LeBron could be averaging 40 right now, and it won't matter.
When Anthony Davis rolled his freaking ankle again, I was like, yeah, okay, this is fucking done. Because I thought maybe him and LeBron could get a little roll going.
Yeah.
Nope. The only thing he rolled was his fucking ankle.
Yeah.
So, they're 3 games behind from the 9th seed.
They need the San Antonio Spurs to damn near lose out, and they need the Pelicans to lose the next 3-4 games.
Yeah, so...
It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, because the Spurs are 1 game over the Lakers. The Pelicans, who are currently in the 9th seed, are 3 games on the Lakers. So the Lakers have to go.
And they have the tiebreaker. So if they aim with the same record, they still get in.
If everything goes well for the Lakers and they get in the play-in and win the play-in tournament, they get the Suns.
Yeah.
All right.
So they get swept again.
Yeah.
AD could get injured in game 1.
Fuck yeah. It only gets worse.
AD will probably break his vagina when he gets in that first game.
Yeah. All right, man. One more question. Last question. I saved this the best for last. Bruce Arians retires. I want to get your reactions and thoughts on the Bucks. Ed, I want to get your reactions to the Bruce Arians retirement, and I want to get your thoughts on the new Bucks head coach.
First of all, I do want to start off by saying congratulations to Todd Bowles, because Todd Bowles has been deserving of another chance as a head coach in this league, because he was given a shit deal with the New York Jets all those years ago. This is one of the best defensive coordinators, defensive minds in the entire league. I absolutely love and respect Todd Bowles for everything he does in this league, and I'm glad he got this job because he does deserve it. If there was anybody that was going to replace Bruce Arians that deserves it, it's Todd Bowles for sure. Let me just get that out of the way. I actually think his demeanor, his calculated ways are going to help the Buccaneers moving forward. But we all know what this was. This was Tom Brady getting Bruce Arians out of the way. I don't think they have a bad relationship. I think Tom Brady and Bruce Arians really like each other. But their work relationship, their business relationship was inevitable this was going to happen. Because Tom Brady is a guy that, although is a fun-loving person, he's a fun-loving person outside of football. When it comes to football, this dude is a killer, a stone-cold killer. And he returned only for one reason, to win. And I think, and I know, that Tom Brady met with the Glazer family in the offseason when he went to go see Ronaldo's game. I don't even think that was the real reason. It's just because they own the team. I think the reason he went out there was to let them know, I have every intention of returning, because he announced it the next day practically, that I'm going to return. But unless you guys are going to trade me to a team I want to go to, like the 49ers or the Dolphins, which they were never going to do, I have some requests here. And the request was to get Bruce Arians out of the way. And what I mean by that is we heard all of last season that Bruce Arians, or Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, and Tom Brady would have a game plan in place all throughout the week. They would build. And Bruce Arians would come at the end of the week and essentially rip it up. Or put a bunch of markers on it and go, no, we're not doing this, I want to do it this way. And that would piss Tom Brady off because he's been running his own offense with Josh McDaniels for the better part of two decades. And that isn't something he wanted to deal with in his mid-40s as a guy who's trying to go out there and get another title. He didn't want to have a head coach that was in his way offensively because he's not used to that period. And Bruce Arians is more of a loosey-goosey character that likes to go out and have cocktails at 5 o'clock like Colin Cowherd famously says. Hell, Bruce Arians even said that in his press release when he was letting everybody know he's retiring, that I'm going to go drink more and have fun, have stogies, things of that nature. So they made it look really good. They made it look like Bruce Arians was really just stepping down and giving his guy Todd Bowles an opportunity to be a head coach again. Yeah. That isn't what happened. It's Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich having their way, going to run their offense the way they want to and having no pushback, and Todd Bowles can go run his defense the way he wants to, and there's no pushback, which is why I think this ultimately is the best move for the Buccaneers moving forward, because now both sides just get to focus on what they want to focus on and not have a guy in the middle of it that's going to cause a rift between Tom Brady and himself, calling people out. It's more fluid, and I think this is the best move, but it's nothing more than Tom Brady making his decision and saying, if you guys want me, this is how it's going to go, and obviously the Bucs said yes to it.
Yeah, it seems. But I thought Leftwich was going to have a good chance of becoming the head coach too. But I like the Todd Bowles signing. He's been a head coach before. He's coached some of the best defenses in New York history over there. When he was with the Jets, some of those defenses were really good. He's obviously a great defensive coordinator. I'm happy for him. But yeah, it definitely reeks of Tom Brady getting his way. I think him and the coach didn't really see much eye to eye. Granted, they both had massive respect for each other, and obviously they got a Super Bowl out of that respect. But I think Tom Brady, yeah, he kind of wham his way into getting his way, which is what he does. So this is not a surprise. But, this is still a very good roster, man. It's still a good offense. When Godwin gets back, that's a very good offense. Loaded. They got Russell Gage this offseason. That's a good wide receiver room.
Leonard Fournette back.
Gronk's probably on his way back. They got Gio Bernard and Leonard Fournette back. We stole Rojo from them. So still a loaded team. That's still a good defense. They have some questions in the secondary, but they can replace that in the draft, maybe, possibly. Who knows what they're going to do here? Either way, they're with the NFC definitely being lighter now. There's a good chance that they're going to be a big contender in the NFC. Seeing what the Saints do here moving forward with the Seahawks, we know they're out of the picture. So the Packers, Niners, Rams, and the Bucs are probably going to be the top teams there. Yeah, man, he's got a good chance to come out of the NFC. I mean, I'm not gonna doubt them. I think Todd Bowles is a great election to be, the next head coach and to lead the way. So,
and I'll just say this real quick. And people that are pushing back and saying this wasn't Tom Brady's work, let me just ask this. If Bruce Arians was to decide to step away on his own, and Tom Brady wanted him, do you really think that would happen? Do you really think if Tom's like, no, Bruce, we need you, please stay. I want you to.
Do you think any major move happens from that Buccaneers team without Tom Brady?
Yeah, and look at the timing. Man. Like even Bruce Arians in his own statement said that a few weeks ago we discussed that this was the best thing for us.
Yeah.
Do you know when Tom Brady announced that he was coming back? A few weeks ago. It was the exact same timeline. Yeah. You can't tell me it's a coincidence that Tom Brady announces his retirement, and in the same timeline, Bruce Arians is saying, that's when I realized it's best for me to step down. You're going to tell me right now that Bruce Arians was going to gladly take over a team without Tom Brady, but then the moment Tom Brady decides to come back, he felt it was time to step down and give his job to Todd Bowles? Come on.
Yeah, it reeks of that. I think anyone who wants to have any kind of critical thought towards that situation, it's pretty obvious.
It's pretty obvious. And again, if Bruce Arians and Tom Brady didn't have the glaring issues we knew them to have, even though they worked through them, and I think that Tom is at a place in his career, he's like, look, I had 19 years of this shit, where I had a coach that was down my throat, calling me out, making me the scapegoat for all the failures.
He can overpower his way.
I left there for that reason. You think I'm trying to have that again here? Fuck that, dude. I'm in the warm weather now. I run this team, and you're about to find out why, Bruce.
I'm the captain now.
Exactly. So that's it's obvious.
Yeah. Yep.
That's it. Good Eddie hour. I appreciate it, man. Actually, I wanted to get Eddie's thoughts real quick on the F1 thing. How you liking the season so far? I know Verstappen just won. Verstappen just won a week ago. How you liking it so far?
I'm loving it.
He's been teaching me, by the way, guys. I'm learning soft tire, medium tire. I'm learning that stuff.
I mean, being a Ferrari fan, this season's been fantastic. The first race you get a 1-2, second race you get a 2-3. You're leading the constructors by almost 40 points. This is fantastic. It's going to be a great season. We're going to see Charles and Max going head-to-head for 20-plus more races. I think it's like 23 races this year, so it's like 21 races more to go. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to see Mercedes probably joining the fight here in the next 2 races. My dick's hard.
All 3.5 inches of it.
It's fantastic. It's been 2 races, but it's been entertaining 2 races. It's not like it's been boring races. No, it's been entertaining races. So I hope it only gets better throughout the season. So
I watched that race with Eddie a couple weeks ago, and I just saw how happy he was. We were watching it after the show last week at the polls. You were watching the qualifier. And this dude's out here acting like it's a damn race. Like, oh, let's go. He just got pulled for the first time.
Eddie's definitely a hard tire kind of guy.
Yeah, I like to last a long time.
That's why Eddie likes to have a little Michelin right here.
Extra tread.
I like to last a long time.
Oh, man.
He likes to get that bold print for Big Charlie. He likes to spread that shit out so you can see it in literal, just 3D form. You know what I mean? All right, we got one more order of business to attend to. It's been a great show. Guys, what's it called?
Hold This L.
Each and every week, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports, whether they're friendly or not friendly. We promise you, who's ever holding those L's in the world of sports deserve those L's. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo, who's holding the L for you? And is it F1 ironically?
No,
Because we
it's
just talked.
not
Okay,
F1,
good.
no. I'm gonna give it to all those that criticize the Mexico national team in these qualifiers for the World Cup. I myself included in those people that bashed the Mexican national team. Yes, they had according to us, they had a pretty bad run. They were a team that we didn't think belonged in the same conversation as the U.S. and Canada because those 2 other teams were just the better teams. Obviously, they both beat Mexico, and Mexico couldn't beat them. So there's that. But the last game was played on Wednesday, the final match of the World Cup qualifiers. Which congratulations, Canada, Mexico, and USA on qualifying to the World Cup, and then Costa Rica having to play New Zealand to qualify for the World Cup. We'll hopefully have 4 CONCACAF teams in the World Cup. We'll see. But we all said it's like, no, U.S. is the better team, Canada is the better team. Guess what? Mexico and Canada tied in points. They both shared the technically first place, but Mexico finished second because of goal difference. But they have the same amount of points. And this is a Canada, which is, by a lot of people, the best in CONCACAF region. Like, there's no other national team that can compete against Canada. Mexico just finished second with the same amount of points. U.S., who also was the best national team in CONCACAF currently, finished third. 3 points behind Mexico and 3 points behind Canada. And this is supposed to be a team that's the golden child, the best generation of talent in the U.S. I agree, but they were hyped a little too much. I'm guessing, and they ended up finishing third.
Was it based on reputation? Do you think?
Not reputation. I don't know.
They were just hyped. They were just overhyped.
Yeah, because I mean, you got players that play in Europe, the U.S., like Pulisic, who plays for Chelsea, who
hat trick.
Unfortunately, but being a Chelsea fan, I have to put up with what they do, So that's one of the mistakes we have to put up with. But yeah, like with names like just because they play in Europe, they people tend to say it's like, well, they're the best team because they all play in Europe. Yeah, but at the same time, they actually have to play in Europe. Yeah, being in a team is different than playing with that team. You know what I mean? Like Pulisic plays with the team, but he probably plays like one game every 4 games, and it's not even a full game. So, yes, they're in Europe, but at the same time, you have to add context to it, and which Americans like myself fail to do sometimes. We tend to avoid the context and just say, "Oh, he plays with the best team in Europe." because they won the championship, the European Championship. So Pulisic technically makes the U.S. that much better. They're a threat and all this. But then you have to add the context, you know what I mean? Which we don't do. And I think American sports media doesn't do that either. So, but yeah, to all those people that, include myself, that said the Mexico national team was dead, they were going to do nothing. Well, they ended up showing a lot, and they finished tied in points with Canada. So, to all those people, you're going to have to do me a favor, Ed.
Hold this L.
Trevor Twidwell, who's holding L for you this week, my man?
All right, so this one's kind of a double L. We talked about this before when the discussion started happening in the NFL, but this is going to for the postseason overtime. The reason I'm giving the NFL this side of the L, not that I don't like the addition and the change and the tweak to the rule in the postseason, I like it. But the fact that they ignored our plea when it affected us negatively, and I know we've discussed this on the show before, but now that it's official, now that these rules have been changed for the postseason, I want to talk about it again. I want to kind of go full circle. The NFL decided not to, and nobody else was really on our side when we got absolutely screwed by those, not the fact that it was unfair. In a way it was, but it was just not good for the game that Patrick Mahomes didn't get a chance to redeem himself the way he was rolling, and the fact that, just the way that game ended in 2018 was just a heartbreaker. And I'd rather not anybody go through that. And it was not fun being there live to witness it either. To have your heart ripped straight out of your ass, that was not fun at all. So I'm going to give the NFL that L for that. Now deciding when the Great White Hope, Josh Allen, goes through that heartbreak. Now we got to, pull the trigger and okay, now enough is enough. We got to change the rules now. That pisses me off. So I don't like that. And then the other reason I want to give the Bills the L here is because if they would have agreed to change those rules, if they would have been on board and supported the Chiefs when we got screwed, they would have beaten the Chiefs. They would have had a better chance, obviously, to beat the Chiefs. They would have had a chance to answer back and not have to. And Josh Allen would have had a chance to have the football in his hands in that game, which was the most incredible game I've ever watched. That could have been definitely a different outcome. And the way Josh Allen was rolling that game, who knows? They could have taken it away from us as well. So they lost on an opportunity to go to an AFC Championship game, possibly a Super Bowl, possibly Josh Allen's one and only chance to go to the Super Bowl. Maybe this year is it. Who knows? So for that. But I just wanted to revisit that. And I don't know if you guys know the completely updated rules in the postseason. Do you guys read about it? Like what the actual... So both teams will get a chance to have the ball. There's not sudden death in the postseason, which I like. I like that. There's obviously no tie. But look, man, NFL waited way too long to change, and I think I'm always for progressive ways of making the game better. I'm always for that, and this is definitely one of those moves, I think, especially. I mean, the regular season obviously doesn't really change, but the postseason definitely there has got to be some adjustments there, and I think that's the right move. I think they finally did it. It just pisses me off that we had to suffer because of that, and we were the better team against that Patriots team. I don't care what anybody says. Either way, NFL, do me a favor and hold this L. Buffalo Bills, do me a favor and hold this L.
I did say how funny it would be. I would say how funny would it be though if the Chiefs and Bills face in the playoffs again, and the Chiefs benefit off the new rules and beat the Bills again. Like just the NFL would fuck, we can't do anything to get these guys.
We get the choice because we lost the toss.
Yeah, they win the coin toss. They go and score, and then Mahomes comes and scores, and then we stop him. And then
it's
Mahomes,
all in the plan, baby.
We come and score. And then,
God, I kind of hope that happens.
The rules is the rules.
And I hope it would be in the AFC Championship too. That'd be golden. So I want to start with a W because we did get the news. It's great news that Dick Vitale is cancer free.
Yep,
his vocal cords are going to work just fine, and he is set to return to ESPN next year. He's not going to be actually in New Orleans for the Final Four, which is it sucks, but
it's incredible for a guy his age, man.
Yeah, he'll be 83 years old soon. Yeah. But to know that he's going to be okay, and I can just imagine. Him watching these Final Four games and his, whether he's in a hotel room, his home, whatever, and I can just imagine him trying to call the games, in his area. He'd be like, oh, we have KU and Villanova, we have Duke and UNC. The blue bloods, all colored blue. So the blue bloods, regardless, cut them open. They're blue. The blue blood, diaper dandies. Fuck them. We got veteran teams. We got Bill Self, Jay Wright. We got Herbie, and we got, of course, the great Coach K.
Blue balls, Blue Rangers, blue.
We got KU with Chayabaji versus Villanova and the thin ass roster. We can see if they go down in a blaze of glory or if they beat the KU Jayhawks. And then we got the Tar Heels. That's right, it's Tar, not Tor. It's Tar Heels versus the Blue Devils. Blue Buds, baby, they run deep. Oh, I'm taking the Dookies because I don't know who those to fucking take. Bill Self, you're going down, buddy, in a blaze of glory. Holy shit. That's for you, Shaggy Shane. We appreciate you, man. I do want to give out a shot to Dickie. I make fun of him. I impersonate him. Yeah. But he's a golden goose, man. He's an ambassador of this game. We love him. So I just want to give a W.
He's one of one.
Cancer free, baby. Yeah. We loving it up. I hope he has another 10, 15 years of life, man. I hope he gets to 100 for God's sakes. I mean, he's a legend for sure. So that's my impersonation of the man. But
so Cancer, hold this off.
No, yeah, I guess you can do that.
Fuck
for
you,
sure.
Cancer. Fuck you.
Fuck Cancer for sure, man. My L is actually going to go to a much lighter-hearted situation that I actually experienced yesterday with a very famous athlete. I love former athletes on TV. They can be really good and they can also be really bad. We do know that Howie Long has been a great analyst with Fox for over 30 years now, I think. Yeah. He was a great football player as well, NFL Hall of Fame, and his sons have been awesome football players, Chris Long and
Kyle Long.
Kyle Long, thank you. It was on the Chiefs roster just last year. Well, Chris Long was on Get Up yesterday with Mike Greenberg and the crew. And I just happened to catch a little small portion of what they were talking about. They were doing over-unders on win totals for next season. And I usually don't get into that stuff right at this time of year because it doesn't really matter. Because teams aren't really completely constructed at this time. It's just late March, early April. But I heard Chris Long say something that really just, it honestly bothered me. And I had to go to Twitter about it. I didn't call him out. I just stated a fact. And as we all know here, for some reason, facts hurt people's feelings. And I put out there, this is verbatim. You can follow me on Twitter at Lance the Spoken. I heard Chris Long on Get Up state that the Chiefs struggle with the Chargers. The Chiefs are 3-13 versus the Chargers since 2014, and one of those losses were in weeks. Yeah, 13-3. Yeah. And one of those losses were in week 17 of the 2020 season when the Chiefs rested their starters because they locked up the 1 seed. Chris Long immediately responded to me on Twitter. And I tend to get these guys riled. I don't know what it is about me. Maybe it's my face. It's probably my face. But they came at me. He actually said, quote, "Guy citing 2014. Guy, Chargers are 2-2 since Herbo." I'm assuming that means Herbert. You know it. I know it. It's a tough matchup. 2014, laugh my ass off. So I quote tweeted it, and I again, I'm being respectful to Chris. I didn't call him out, didn't call him names, no nothing. I said, "Chris, love and respect you, bro, but it takes 2 seconds to do the research and see that one of those wins, again, were against the Chiefs backups in Week 17 of the 2020 season because the Chiefs had the 1 seed locked up." He then comments on that, and he says, "Homie, you tried to dunk. It wasn't great. You cited the Chiefs record versus LAC since 2014. All love. So you can asterisk the resting starters. I'll do the same with Herbo having 3 minutes to make his pro debut. You've struggled against Herbo and that D more than other teams. It's okay." I simply just said, dude, I didn't try anything. I shared the facts. You do with them with what you will. He said, "They're facts, but irrelevant. I think you know what I'm getting at. Good day, sir." I finish it with, "Facts are never irrelevant, especially when you make a general statement like, quote, the Chiefs struggle against the Chargers, and the facts proved that to be false. Herbert is 1-2 versus Mahomes, and it took 4 Chiefs turnovers for the Chargers to win by 6 last season. Enjoy your day." And look, I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and say the Chargers haven't played well against the Chiefs in certain games.
The games have been competitive, yes.
But if I was to tell you this Team A and Team B are right here, right? And one of them have won 13 of 16 of their the last 16 matchups.
Yeah, it's not like
would you say the team that's won 13 of those 16 matchups struggles against that team?
Right, and let's not act like we didn't face Phillip Rivers in those years.
Right.
Those were good Phillip Rivers
teams. And they
teams.
always had top 10 rosters.
Yes.
The season that Patrick Mahomes took over and we won the division and they got to the 1 seed of the AFC and got to the AFC Championship, You guys do realize the Chargers won the exact same amount of games a year the Chiefs did that year, right?
Right.
12-4, 12-4.
Yep.
The only reason the Chiefs had the division over them is because by a technicality of sweeping the other teams in the division, where the Chargers didn't. And Justin Herbert is a great quarterback, and I like him. He's a great talent, all these things. But the Chiefs haven't struggled against him. In fact, the only reason the Chiefs have a single loss against him that actually counts is because of what the Chiefs did or didn't do. And there was a horrific defensive penalty against the Chiefs at the end of the game that saved the Chargers in that game, despite the 4 turnovers the Chiefs had.
Right.
Justin Herbert wasn't even good in that game. So I respect Chris Long and what he's done. I actually fundamentally believe in a lot of things he states outside of football and football. But this is just a bad take. And when you tell me, when your defense for your take is that facts don't matter, because I said it's
irrelevant.
Doesn't the facts matter if they're more of an elongated fact? If it stretches a longer piece of time, doesn't that matter more? Because that means that there's been a longer series of said dominance. And if the Chiefs have won,
holds more weight.
What is 13 divided by 16? 80-something%? 87%? If the Chiefs have won 87% of their games against a certain team, I don't think they're struggling against them. In fact, the Chiefs have a worse record against the Raiders than they have against Justin Herbert in that span.
Yep.
So just think about that. Chris Long, I appreciate you. I still love you. If you want to come on the show and tell me I'm an idiot, we'd love to have you, bro. As you can see, we have former players on our team, on our show all the time. You can have at it, brother. In fact, I'm going to invite you after the show. But in the meantime, do me a solid, Chris Long, and
hold this L.
Just like the Chargers.
Hold it.
Yeah. Damn, this has been a great show, fun show, long show.
3
too,
hours.
3 hours.
It's been a great show. Well, hey, when you have the great Jason Dunn on, man, you're going to get some insight and intel, and we give him the platform for all that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah. I hope you guys had a great time today. I had a great time. But we have got to, at this point, we got to rest for next week because we've had ourselves an in-depth show.
Here's to hoping some moves are made after the show's over.
Yes, let's see. Yeah, because it always
want
seems to
another
happen.
3-hour show.
But in the meantime, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's been a fun show. But in the meantime, for Trevor Twidwell, for Eddie Ortiz, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together, and for our awesome guest, not even a guest, family of the show, the great Jason Dunn from Chief Concerns and a former Chief Greats, I am Lance Twidwell. Episode 161 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we get back here for 162 next week, we out of this bitch.
See ya. There we go.